and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before. So can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig.
Man, that intro theme gets you ready for a show on a Wednesday, man.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, coming in like at 11:40, coming into this studio, I was like a little bit draggy, but man, nothing gets you up like that intro. I like it.
Yeah, we were bobbing our head and
Yeah, we were rocking.
just rocking on the tune, and yeah, that's our theme music because every great host and great co-host needs theme music.
Exactly. I mean,
So there you go.
a good show is not that good if it doesn't have a good theme song. So
And despite the good theme song, here we are trying to do our job. Baseball's back.
baseball's back.
60 games, and stop if you've heard this before. The commissioner and the owners wanted to give up 100% prorated salaries, universal DH, expanded postseason, meaning more money, and all kinds of other goodies. Not just for this year, but for this year and next year. And the players said, no, we kind of want to do 70 games. And Rob Manfred said, okay, you guys can't make up your mind. I'm going to make up your mind for you. 60 games, 100% prorated salaries, universal DH for this year only because, well, we don't want the pitchers getting hurt, but no expanded postseason. And all the players had to do was say yes to an offer that, well, frankly, let's be honest here, the owners weren't getting off of 60 games. This was the greatest, worst kept secret in the history of Major League Baseball. The owners did not want to go past 60 games. Everyone in the industry knows this, except the Players Association, because they said, well, no, we can't do that. We'll do 70. So by doing this, they cut their nose off to spite their face because they passed up on at least $30 million for the expanded postseason. They passed up on universal DH for next year as well as this year, although they do get it this year. They won't get it next year. And they passed up on some other goodies. But baseball's back, and that's all that matters, and we have a 60-game season. It will be 4 games against your same division, opposite league. So if you're a Pirates fan, you will play 4 times against the Indians, the White Sox, the Twins, the Tigers, the Royals. And then you'll play 10 times against your 4 opponents in your division, the Reds, the Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Brewers. If you're an Indians fan, you'll be playing 10 times against the Tigers, the Royals, the Twins, the White Sox, and you'll play 4 games against the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Pirates, the Reds, and the Brewers. 60 games.
I'll be interested when they release the schedule, which I imagine will be probably maybe like a week into spring training. They might release the schedule. Maybe you think?
Oh, they'll release it before then.
Or you think they'll release it like in the next week?
I think in the next few days they'll probably release this.
Well, I'd like to see how they kind of spread those apart. If they do, 2 interleague series back to back and then go back to your division, or if they're gonna try to I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of spread those out.
Well, I think that in a 4-game series, the logical thing to do is if you're playing 4 games against
2 home, 2 away.
team, in the other league, you would play a 4-game series with that ball club. You'd play the first 2 games in your park, the next 2 games in their park.
And you could spread that out too. I mean, you could go 2 games one week, and then the next week you could go over there and play 2 games over there. I mean, you don't have to say 2 back to back.
Yeah, I mean, you can do just about anything on this one.
In fact, you could have like a 5. Let's say you have a 5-game homestand where you play your 2 home games against whatever team, and then you play a 3-game series against your division rival, and that's your 5-game homestand.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's not the perfect scenario, but you do have baseball set to start somewhere around July the 24th, maybe a little further, and it will be done September 27th. Again, the worst kept secret in baseball. Everyone wanted the season to end how the regular season prior to COVID would have ended. So there you go.
The other thing we never talked, if it didn't end on time, it affects the schedule of next year. It affects the rest of the off-season schedule if you go past what you normally do, and that's what the NBA is going to run into, because their season has to go longer than a normal season would, and because of that, next year's also messed up.
No, absolutely.
MLB didn't want that.
No, and MLB also wanted the playoffs to start at the exact time,
yes.
And now that the playoffs are going to be starting at the exact time, assuming we don't get a second bout of COVID-19, which kind of looks awfully bad in some places, but hopefully it's not going to be festering that badly during the course of the summer and on into the fall. We should be able to be through with the season by the end of October, early November at the absolute latest, and then have an off season and have a normal, knock on wood, a normal 2021. There are some ideas that I think Major League Baseball needs to incorporate, and we'll talk about this throughout the day. Chris Biebel, a friend of the show, Munch's producer on Munch on Ohio Sports, Munch's producer on their show, which I don't believe is back on the air on 1350 The Gambler out of Cleveland. I'm not 100% sure that show is back on. But Chris Biebel, outstanding Cleveland radio personality / behind-the-scenes guy. He'll join us in about 8 minutes. We will have our normal sit-down with our guy, Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek, and we are going to be previewing the upcoming PGA event. And if the pattern that we established last week is correct, Bryson DeChambeau should win this tournament this weekend. And if he does, then we have ourselves a pattern. And by the way, you cannot predict DeChambeau this week.
No, I got to pick someone else.
You got to pick someone else. So there you go. Here's what I would say for Major League Baseball, and I've thought a little bit about this, and I think that the common denominator / problem in Major League Baseball is the lack of attention by America's youth. Basically, Eastern and Central Time Zone have screwed 2 generations worth of fans when you put all the postseason games on at 8 o'clock at night. And most of the kids can't watch that. Now, that's not going to change. However, you could very easily make things very special and very unique for the fans, specifically for the kids. You don't have to worry about fans attending your game. That's number one. So this can easily be done. Let me preface this by saying 2 other things. My idea would save some money, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But the first thing that I would do, especially if you own the MLB Extra Innings or if you go to MLB TV and you're a subscriber for that, they need to drop the blackout.
Have they released what their prices are going to be this season for that?
I don't know. I would imagine it's going to be less than half.
It'd be really cool if they gave it to us for free.
Well, that's one thing that I think they should do. They absolutely should do that. But here's the thing that definitely needs to be done. You need to drop the blackout. You need to drop the blackout because the fans are not going to be there. The blackout is there because you're
want
assuming that
everyone in the
you
area
can,
has
you can
sports
go
time
to
in
that
Ohio.
game. Exactly.
Well, yeah,
You're
that-
assuming that.
That, and they're saying that they're assuming that everyone in the market can watch on the in-market channel.
Which is a
So
bad assumption.
They're saying that everyone in the Cleveland market can watch it on either Sports Time Ohio, or if you can't get Sports Time Ohio, get the Fox Sports app, and you can get it there if you're in the Cleveland TV market.
Yeah, which is
So,
a pile of hooey because, and we're not in the Cleveland TV market, but the cable company at my parents' condominium, it has no Cleveland Indians baseball.
But does your cable company? Yeah, it has Fox and Fox Sports, right?
It has Fox Sports, but
Okay,
it
so
does not have STO.
What you can do is you can download the Fox Sports app and watch Indians on your iPad, smartphone, whatever it be, because you're in the market. And you can do that for free without having to get to MLB.TV.
See, now you learn something new every day. And you might have a fan now in my mom because she's a huge Indians fan and she likes to watch the Indians on TV.
Yep.
But my thing is, look, just drop the blackout because fans are no longer going to be allowed. You should be dropping. You should be dropping the blackout and letting everyone see whatever the hell game they want to see.
And then I'll be happy because I can, with the blackout, I love to watch the Royals broadcast.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch the Royals broadcast even when they were in Cleveland. Even though I'm still not in Kansas City's market, I had to watch the Cleveland broadcast when Kansas City was in Cleveland or playing Cleveland.
I think the first thing that needs to be done is you need to drop the blackout on MLB TV. Drop the blackout on the extra innings package. Just drop the blackout because there's not going to be any fans. That needs to be done. That's number one. Number two, this is especially for the kids. I think a lot of these games should be played in the daytime.
Ron, you got to remember that a lot of this season's going to be in the summer.
That's fine.
And kids during the day in the summer are outside playing. So maybe this summer it's kind of okay to have those 7 o'clock games because parents aren't as worried about their kids staying up till 11 or 10:30 or whatever to watch a game. So in the summer's months, most games start at the home team's 7 o'clock Eastern time. So 7 o'clock, the home team's time zone.
Sure.
So I think that'll be okay in the summer, because now the country's opening back up and the parents are working during the day too. So they won't be able to watch day games.
My argument to that is, and we're going to get Chris Beeble on in a break. My argument to that is these kids that love baseball are normally playing baseball in the evening. So why not have baseball in the daytime? I'm not saying all 60 games should be at daytime. No. Absolutely not.
More than the normal
But you
schedule.
should have at least half of these games played in the daytime. I think it would be fantastic for all the kids. I think the kids, for whatever reason, like to stay inside in the summertime and play video games. Well, why not have baseball to be seen?
We're going to see what market they're really aiming toward, because if they're aiming towards the parents, then they're going to show it in the evening because the parents are working now.
Absolutely.
If they're aiming for the youth of the baseball, which they should be,
aiming for the youth
then
of baseball.
They should have at least 2 o'clock games.
Yeah, I really believe 30 of these 60 games should be in the daytime, and you can appease both audiences.
And you're not going to be traveling from East Coast to West Coast, so you won't have to worry about that either.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you're not going to be going over it.
At the very least, getaway day should be an afternoon game, and this is in a normal setting. If there's one thing I learned in minor league baseball, getaway day on a day game is so freaking important for the team that's going on the road because they can get back home or get to their next destination early in the evening. Unless you're riding a bus and you're driving 8 or 9 friggin' hours, and then you're home at a somewhat decent time. But in the world that Major League Baseball lives in, planes, trains, and automobiles, you can go from one destination to the other, play your game, go to another city, and have dinner in the other city. So it just, for me, it makes perfect sense to appease the kids as well as the adults, have at least half of these 60 games played in the daytime. Not to mention the fact the owners have been bitching and moaning about money. If you do day games, you don't have to put the lights on. That saves all kinds of money.
does.
So maybe we're speaking to the owners' pocketbooks, since most of them think that they don't make enough money. We're going to take a timeout. On the other end, we'll hear from Chris Biebel. We'll get his comments on this. Is it a slam dunk that the Indians are going to be competitive? No. And we've got numbers to back that up because they're historically a slow-starting franchise under Tito. So we'll talk about that with Chris Biebel. That's coming up in a bit. Stick around. Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top
More
story
experienced reporters
tonight. A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
telling more local stories
We'll look at
Baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley.
afternoon.
in Niles,
We are
one
here in
Campbell Valley
Youngstown, right
business.
Because you expect
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County
Before
Court.
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Joining us on the YSN hotline, a friend of the show, Chris Biebel. He is a Cleveland radio personality and a guy that does a tremendous job behind the scenes. Ask Munch Bishop. Munch has used his services a ton over the last couple of years, and Chris Biebel joins us on the YSN hotline. Biebs, what's up, brother?
Not much, Ron. Thanks for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to get on with you.
All right, let me throw this scenario out, and you tell me what you think.
I love scenarios.
60-game MLB season, and I think that this should be the year of the fan. So
Right.
I think that Major League Baseball needs to do this, mainly because there are no fans in the stands. Major League Baseball immediately needs to tell DirecTV, needs to tell MLB TV, we are dropping the blackout. So if you want to watch the Cleveland Indians in northeastern Ohio on DirecTV, if you want to watch the Indians on MLB TV and you don't happen to have MLB extra innings, you can watch the Cleveland Indians or whatever team in whatever market. The blackout needs to be dropped. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I only have 2 thumbs to give it a thumbs up. If I had more than 2 thumbs, I would give it 3 or 4 thumbs up. Absolutely.
Okay.
And that was the thing. That was the thing that always rubbed me the wrong way, and it's honestly one of the reasons why I don't have traditional cable anymore. Is those blackouts were always just felt so unfair from a consumer standpoint. And to be honest with you, Ron, after we've seen what Major League Baseball and the Players Association too, I'm not going to leave them out, but after they've played out this episode of trying to negotiate in public and it's gone the way that it has and it's created so much bad sentiment, I think it'd honestly be the least that the sport could do to have to come to some sort of agreement to get that to be a reality so people don't miss it, because you've rubbed so many people the wrong way as it is. And if you get to the point where it looks like everybody's coming back and you have blackouts and you have you don't have the ability to watch the games that you want to watch, that's only going to create further divide. And you know as well as anybody, that's the last thing they need is more divide.
Oh, no question. That's number one on my hit list. Number two is we have to take care of the younger generation, because the kids, we've already screwed them the last 30-some-odd years by not having day games in the World Series and very few day games in the postseason. Now, this is a win-win for me because, well, let's face it, the owners, and some of them have said, we are a nonprofit organization. We really don't make that much money. So I'm going to speak their language because you know as well as I do, if you play a night game, you're expending all kinds of dollars putting those lights on. So my thought is, all right, you got a 60-game season. Why not play 30 games in the daytime? Number one, if it's on TV, get the kids to watch the game because Lord knows they're in the house all day anyway. So you can watch them, have them watch the game on TV. More importantly, to speak of the owners and their cheapness, you don't have to put the lights on. So you're saving money while also extending an olive branch to the young generation that has not been given anything in the last 30-some-odd years.
Well, and if you're not going to have people in the stadium, and it's traditionally been one of those things where, hey, are we going to be able to get people off of work? Maybe it's early on in the year, or maybe they're going back to school later on in the year. Maybe they don't want to run day games because of that. I don't know what the numbers are as far as, it seems like these day games are typically less filled than the night games. But like you said, Ron, with what we have going on in the world right now, that's not going to be an issue. We're not going to have people in the stands. So I'd be all for it. And to a big point that what you said, extending the olive branch, getting kids involved. Like, that's a big thing with what's going on in baseball right now, which is why this whole episode over the past month or two has been so disappointing is, I'm willing to admit, I'm a millennial. And I am weird in my age group in terms of me loving baseball. And that's a shame to me. And it's only getting worse the younger and younger you go. So anything that baseball can do to extend olive branches to get the younger crowd, they need that more than ever right now, because with everything going on in the world, I have a lot of friends that are casual baseball fans. Maybe they'll go to a game or two a year. They'll go sit out in the corner bar out at Progressive Field. It'll be more of a social kind of exchange than it will be, hey, let's go watch a game of baseball. Those are the people that you need to convert into diehard fans. You need to start from a young age. So to have that experience, and it's one of the reasons why we talked about it a number of times, Ron, with the minor league baseball situation being what it is, why it's such a travesty that they were planning on getting rid of them, and it seems like they're still going towards that path once everything starts to get semi back to normal. They need to get younger people interested in this game, because I want to be able to tell my grandkids about the things that I saw when I was young. Hopefully I'll be able to tell them about a World Series win for the Cleveland Indians. But I want them to be able to tell their grandkids about the game of baseball. And the way that it's trending right now, it might sound crazy, out of the box and hyperbole, but it doesn't. It's not trending that way. It's not trending the way that we're going to have a bunch of younger fans being converted into the diehards that are going to replace the older diehard fans right now, and that's a big problem for baseball.
Oh, there's no question about that. I have thought that if Major League Baseball had the okay to have a couple of thousand people in the stands, Major League Baseball could do something really cool. And again, on the thinking outside the box, one of our listeners called in with an unbelievably great comment. And this would ring true, especially for a minor league baseball team like our Mahoning Valley Scrappers, who, barring a 11th hour decision, will not have minor league baseball in 2021. Why not barnstorm for some of the home games and say, you know what? We're going to play one of our games in one of our minor league stadiums. So let's play a game in Akron. Let's play a game in Youngstown or at Niles at Eastwood Field. Let's play a game in East Lake, up in Lake Captain, or Lake Erie Captain's, the stadium up there, or play a game in Columbus. Now, granted, you would have to get the okay to get some fans, and that's probably going to be where the conversation comes to a close. But if you really wanted to market the game and have some fun along the way, barnstorming in minor league stadiums would be phenomenal.
Any other year, Ron, I would say, that's a little bit out of the box. They're never going to give up the revenue based off of ticket sales, all of that. I would say that's maybe an unrealistic idea. But given what they're going through this year, given the fact that you will have a very limited staff there, and no concessions, no fans, no anybody in the lower upper bowls, nothing like that. That honestly, not something that I had thought about, but even just getting them on TV in those ballparks could mean a lot. Just being able to be a parent and sit down with your kid and show them, hey, look they're playing right down the street from us. They play baseball games there. That could go. I don't know the exact impact it would necessarily have. Once things resumed, and hopefully they would still be able to exist and play baseball games going forward, and the entire minor league system wouldn't be completely routed the way that we think it's going to be going forward. But yeah, I mean, just getting them in the stadium and being a kid. Like when I was younger, if I saw the Cleveland Indians play somewhere like Canal Park. And now, granted, that's not like lower A, that's a double A. They're not necessarily in trouble by any means from a double A standpoint. But that would, just being able to see it on my TV would create a mystique and an aura about that place. And that's what it is about when you're young. And I can speak to that, is that the reason why I love baseball so much is when I was watching Jacobs Field when I was younger, or all the different stadiums like Fenway Park, what have you, Yankee Stadium, Dodger Stadium. It was all about creating this mystique of the place being sacred. And if you can show that to a kid at a local level and say, look, this is where Francisco Lindor played. At this point, Major League Baseball needs to think of some creative things, and I'm not against that. That would be a decent idea, something I hadn't thought about before.
I think one of the big things that the MLB needs to do to bring the young generation into the fold is they need, this year especially, to ramp up their social media engagement, whether it be the players or the franchises. They both need to kind of ramp up their engagement. What are some ideas that you might have that teams in the MLB and the players can do to kind of bring social media into the fold this year and try to drive home engagement of social media fans?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Major League Baseball has famously always lagged behind on. And that's exactly what it is. It's just marketing. It's marketing your players. It's getting the player name out there and making it a common household name. Like when you have a guy like Mike Trout, who, and I've talked about this with Munch a number of times on our show, whether it was the afternoon show or the morning show. If you have Mike Trout and you put him in a lineup and you have a casual sports fan see Mike Trout walking down East 4th, maybe he's in town, whatever street it might be. It could be even in his own, Los Angeles. I can guarantee you that it would be a 50-50 split about whether a average casual sports fan would even recognize Mike Trout. And I might be even being a little bit generous there. So it's just marketability, and whether it's social media or whether it's on TV or whether it's on YouTube, whatever. Like the way that we consume, especially young people, the way that young people consume marketing is so different nowadays. Barely anybody I know still has cable. So even from the standpoint of like TV marketing, sure, they could always do better with that. But expanding out to different avenues like YouTube, like internet-based things, like streaming, live streaming. I know this is something that not a lot of people have loved because the implementation of it wasn't the greatest. There was a lot of buffering. There was a lot. The commentator crew wasn't necessarily the strongest. If they keep putting out free games to the average young fan who doesn't necessarily have cable or might not be exposed to sitting out in front of the TV with their family and then turning on a sports game, if they continue to do live streaming on a platform like Facebook or Twitter or Twitch, the live streaming websites, I think that the implementation has been kind of lackluster so far, but I like the idea because that's where young people are going. And we have to kind of break ourselves of this idea that, that we have to get the young people in front of the television. The young people don't watch TV. That's just not something that they do as much as, when I was young, I would watch TV because that was one of the only mediums I had to watch entertainment. Things are changing, and Major League Baseball needs to change with the times. And I to be honest with you, I don't think anybody's ever accused of Major League Baseball of being quick to change with the times. So that's something they need to keep in mind.
One of the other things that I think Major League Baseball should jump all over is, and again, it's a lost season, being that it's not going to be an ordinary baseball season. Mic up every player and every pitcher and every manager and everybody that you possibly can, and let's have some fun and see just what goes inside the mind of someone rather important on a baseball field.
Or at least mic up one player. I mean, they have a lot of fun in the spring training when they mic up players and they have conversations with them through the press. But that's one of the funnest things to watch in all of spring training. And I know you can't do it to that extent, but you can still have players mic'd up during a game. I mean, I think that'd be huge.
I've been talking about that ever since this past All-Star break. When they had Francisco Lindor mic'd up, and he famously said, "Welcome to my city." I mean, those are the kind of things. Even if it's not the baseball players interacting with the commentators, that's a very special thing that they probably only reserve for All-Star games, things like that. But just having the players mic'd up and putting that in there, that's something that, I mean, even years before what I saw yesterday, or last year, I should say, that's something that I've been arguing for, just getting more immersive into the game, because I love baseball. The baseball is my first love of my life. But I will admit that sometimes, as much as you have a guy like Tom Hamilton, who's one of the best in the business, and you have Matt Underwood on the TV side, and those guys are all great at what they do, and Rick Manning, there is downtime. And a lot of people get turned off by the amount of downtime there is, not only pitch by pitch, but like at bat by at bat. Because in a pitcher's duel, if you're not a diehard baseball fan, if you're not somebody who grew up playing baseball, not a lot of sports fans admire those kind of games. So to have a little bit of a different angle to go to when that's happening, and hear the raw emotion, and hear maybe these guys knowing that they're mic'd up, they'll kind of talk through what's going on in their mind at the plate. Those will be interesting little tidbits that people can kind of gravitate towards. Once again, it keeps going back in my mind to, you got to think outside the box, and you got to change the way you're presenting what's going on in the game right now, because pandemic or not, you were losing a lot of young fans. Those fans were not being created at the same pace that they were 20, 30, 40 years ago, going back, to the start of the game. There's a serious problem they need to change, and that to me would be a step in the right direction. No doubt.
Now we have to address the one issue that I'm okay. Of all the things that I've heard, of all the ideas that I've heard, one idea that I'm just completely anti. I can't even begin to say how anti I am about this. It's the extra inning rule, where you're going to put a runner at second base in the 10th inning. He mysteriously comes out of nowhere and goes to second base without the inning even starting. And you tell the relief pitcher, this is how it's going to be. And if the run scores, I don't know, it's an earned run, it's an unearned run, you're messing with the game. I don't like that. You can mess with things that don't have a direct effect toward the game. This has a direct effect toward the game. I'm not a fan of it.
Well, the one thing I'll say about that, Ron, and in a normal year, I don't think that I would disagree with that sentiment. It's kind of like that rule to me has always been kind of like in the same vein as you have to pitch to 3 batters as a relief pitcher before you can be taken out. Like I was never a fan of that either. But to me, I mean, and I'll ask you this question, guys. Do you feel like whoever wins the World Series this year, no fans in the stands, you've taken one of the best things about playoff baseball out, and I understand why they have to take it out. I'm not saying that they shouldn't take it out, but are you going to look at whoever wins the World Series this year as a legitimate champion in the same way you would look at any other team? that would win a normal?
I will, because I've said this before. Everyone's starting in the same boat. And I feel like if you handle this season better than everyone else and win a World Series, then props to you, because everyone's starting in the same boat. Everyone's on the same plane. So if you go and handle it better than everyone else and win, then absolutely props to you.
No, I'm going to say the same thing. I think that, it's a 60-game season, and you might not have the best team, quote unquote, because you didn't play 162 games, but you're playing the schedule that's in front of you, and you still have to go through the playoffs, and you still have to, play postseason baseball. I agree with you. You've taken the biggest element out of postseason baseball, and I'm not saying that the fans shouldn't be there, because we're under a virus, for God's sake. So no, right. I mean, if we have much more encouraging results, then yeah, I'd love to open up the stadium for a certain amount of fans. But no, I'm not going to put an asterisk or anything like that on the 2020 season. Assuming we get through the season with no hiccups and a World Series champion is crowned, that team is going to be the world champions in 2020, and I have no problems recognizing it.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked that question is because it's such a bizarre situation that the game is in right now, where every sports league is in right now, about how to handle a shortened season. And nobody's season is going to be shortened quite like baseball, because they play so many games. So that whole adage of it's a marathon, not a sprint. Well, we're in a sprint right now. This is the only season, hopefully, we'll have in our lifetimes where we'll see the kind of sprint that we have with a 60-game season. And I don't really know how to view this season. That's the reason why I asked, because I wanted to get your guys' opinions on that. I really don't know how I'm going to view a championship team that comes out of this season, about how the league is going to look this year, how the games are going to be played. And I think that given the fact that everything is so bizarre, you're not going to have fans. It's going to be a pure viewing experience from a television standpoint. Everything has changed so much. If you're going to implement these rules, now these are rules that are not going away, like the idea of them. At some point, Major League Baseball was going to try to implement these different rules. And at one point or another, they were going to be implemented. So in my mind, whether I agree with the rule or not, there's no better season to do it, because at this point, it's a quick season. You'll get a very short burst of how it's affecting games. You won't have to go through the entire slog of a whole season. Oh, here we go. This rule, we've already figured out 2 weeks in that this rule is horrible, and we've got another 150 games left. That would be the ultimate, bad situation to happen if a rule was truly screwing up the game to that extent. To me, it's a little bit less now that you have a 60-game season, a little bit of an expanded playoffs. You'll get a good sample size of these rules and how they affect the game, and then you can either choose to go forward at that point or completely nix it. So to me, there are some rules that I don't like. There are some rules that I think go against the sanctity of the game, like the relief rule, like the second base, like the person being put on second base in the extra innings. It's a little gimmicky. It's a little silly to me. But I'm willing to have my opinion changed when I see it. And if it doesn't work out, we don't have an entire full 162-game season for it. So I'm a little bit more open-minded to it.
Yeah, Kevin Burkhardt, and we had him on well before the season was pretty much. I think it was 1 month into our season being delayed, and he had basically said the same thing. Look, this is a season that is pretty much not going to be the caliber of a baseball season that we're all used to. So this would be the perfect time to throw everything and anything up against the wall, and whatever sticks, hey, you can use that. And Lord knows baseball needs to market to the younger kids. What doesn't work, you can scrap it. And when the next season, and hopefully, knock on wood, we have 162 games in 2021, then you don't have to worry about having that rule in place. So, I'm with you, although there are a couple of things I'm not too happy with. But again, if it doesn't work, then all right, no harm, no foul, because this isn't a 162-game schedule. The National League, though, we were told today, the National League will have the designated hitter, because the Rob Manfred does not want pitchers hitting, because they don't want them getting hurt, because we're going to be doing sprint mode, not marathon mode. I don't know if Major League Baseball is ready, i.e. the National League is ready, to go designated hitter all the time. I do like my own personal idea of allowing the starting pitchers to hit for themselves league-wide, and then when the starting pitcher is taken out of the game, either the designated hitter comes into the game or the DH drops to the number 9 spot or wherever the pitcher was hitting, and your designated hitter is there from the rest of the time. So if your starter gets bombed in the first or second inning, your designated hitter hits for him the rest of the night. If your starter goes 6 or 7 strong innings and it's a tight ball game and your starting pitcher is in the on-deck circle and you're trying to figure out, all right, do I want to roll the dice and keep going with my starting pitcher? Okay, you don't have your designated hitter. You pinch hit for your pitcher, you're going to pinch hit, in all likelihood, the guy that's going to be batting the rest of the night in the number 9 spot. I think it's a brilliant idea, and I think it should be used to be the happy medium for those National League fans or American League fans like myself who love the National League rule. I think it's a win-win for everyone.
You know, I don't dislike that idea. And I think that, if it was a normal season and, they were trying to implement a different kind of rule to get you a little bit maybe closer to the American League without taking that kind of traditional National League style of play out of it. But as it stands right now, they're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. And I know that this is going to not make you very happy, Ron, because we've had plenty of conversations about the DH in the American League.
Don't do it! Don't do it!
Once the National, and I've always said this, and I've always had these conversations like, hey, if you like the pitchers hitting, you better hope that they never try out the DH in the National League, because once they have the added roster flexibility, the added flexibility in the lineups, it's from a team standpoint, maybe not so much from a viewing standpoint, because I'm willing to acknowledge, even though I do think, in my personal view, DH should be league-wide because that's the kind of viewing experience that I prefer. There are still plenty of people out there that prefer the National League way of viewing baseball. But once a team gets a hold of it, once the league and the managers and the players get a hold of it, and once the Players Association sees, oh, wow, all of these DHs, all these Edwin Encarnacion type players, all the David Ortiz type players, they can actually have a full league to have going after their services, because now this DH spot is opened. I think you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. I honestly don't think, if I was a betting man and I was putting a bet on it, I don't think that we see pitchers bat ever again in Major League Baseball. I'm not saying that they're not going to go back to it once they have a normal season, but if I had to bet money on it right now, I would bet that the age of pitchers hitting is over.
Reluctantly, I'm going to agree with you, which just pisses me off, but whatever. I mean, and I understand that that offense puts butts in the seats, and I get it, and I understand to a degree that everyone loves the designated hitter, and I understand that, but there's a purist in me that looks at this and says, you sit on your can the whole entire game, you don't play in the field. You get that bat out of your hand. You're not allowed to hit. You didn't play in the field. You're not allowed to hit. But I'm a dinosaur when it comes to that. So I'm fine with it, I guess.
Yeah, and hey, I'm not saying that the DH rule is something that younger kids are going to look and say, oh, as long as they have a DH and the pitchers don't hit. No, that's a little silly to just assume that one rule is going to change that dynamic at all. But to be honest with you, little things like that, I think, and like you said, Ron, it's the kids growing up nowadays, and I saw it when I was younger because I am a child of the steroid era. I am a child of the McGuire, Sammy Sosa home run race, the Barry Bonds hitting 70 home runs. Like that's just something that popped with my generation, and it's only getting more polarized the younger you go. So if you're looking to create more offense, and that's exactly what the NFL and the NBA have done. And their popularities have skyrocketed. Once they make it more of an emphasis on more offense, more flashy plays, more of the things that people want to see all the time, that's what gets people's attention. And when you have the attention span that a lot of people have nowadays, I cannot see us going back to an era of baseball that you prefer.
All right, let's talk the 60 games, and this is a disadvantage for the Cleveland Indians. We'll be real honest, because the Indians historically under Tito have not been a good baseball team at all when they start the season. So that is going to have to change. Let me throw out 4 seasons worth of records after 60 games. Last year, the Indians were just 30-30. In 2018. That was the year they won the division. They were only 32-28. 2017, that was the 103-win season. They were only 31-29 after 60 games. And in the World Series appearance of 2016, the Tribe had the best record of the 4 years, 34-26. Beebs, 34 wins may not win the AL Central this year when you consider that everyone's going to be playing Kansas City and Detroit 10 times each, and they're both rebuilding franchises. The White Sox are kind of the question mark, but then you go over to the National League. The Pirates are rebuilding. Milwaukee is up and down. Cincinnati could be interesting. Chicago could be interesting. St. Louis is always going to be tough. 34 wins might not get it done. The Indians are going to have to really change things if they're going to win this division this year.
And I think that's where the strengths of Terry Francona come into play, is that, yes, it's a very, very different season going on where you do have a sprint and not a marathon. But I think Terry Francona has always been of the mindset, with a few exceptions. Like, I didn't love the way that they kind of ran Brad Hand ragged early on in the season last year. But generally speaking, what Tito does in the beginning of the season, and you can see it's very evident, he's setting up the team for that run, because you need to make a run at some point before the All-Star break, before the trade deadline, to really set up and see where you are as a team. And we see so many of these instances of teams starting out, 12-1, or they have the best record in baseball in May after May, and they drop off, and they're barely in the wild card hunt by the time the trade deadline comes around. He builds and he manages his team to be sustained throughout an entire season. Therefore, I think when it gets down to crunch time, I would say scoreboard with Terry Francona, he has a better record than not of actually in crunch time towards the tail end of a season, getting his team in a position to make the playoffs and go on a run. I think that you're just going to see that from the start of the season. He knows what's in front of him now. He knows that he doesn't have to manage for a 162-game season. So I feel a little bit more confident. And I understand what you're saying, because the proof is in the tape. The proof is in the standings. You have to look and say, yeah, they don't typically start off very strong, but they're not necessarily playing towards the fact that, as long as we're strong after the first 60 games, that'll just carry us through the rest of the 162-game season. No, I mean, they know they only have 60 games. So I think Terry Francona has he's a Hall of Fame manager, and he's proven it over many different eras of baseball. And I think that if anything, that gives me confidence that we have a Hall of Fame manager on our side, and he's going to know how to take this season and make the Indians the best team that they can possibly be. So it doesn't necessarily bother me as much knowing that we have his presence there.
Nothing draws people to a sport more than underdog stories and teams that maybe aren't supposed to make the playoffs, making the playoffs. If you had to pick a couple of teams, maybe a handful of teams that in a normal season would have no shot at the playoffs in baseball, but maybe because of their youth or how they're built could really succeed in a 60-game season and throw a monkey wrench into things, what teams would you look at?
I think any team that's a little bit younger, that hasn't gone through the full-fledged, rigors of a 162-game season, I think is in a great shape. Like, one team that sticks out to me, and I hate to say it because they're in our own division, but Ron said it, the Chicago White Sox. A lot of great young talent that can probably put together a great 60-game season and not necessarily have to go through the pains of 4 or 5 months of playing great baseball over and over again. Like, those young, inexperienced teams whether or not they'll be able to make those runs in the playoffs, because, experience counts for a lot when you get to those playoff series. But a team like the White Sox, to me, is scary. Like, I have a good confidence that we can compete with the Minnesota Twins just based off of our current rosters, what we saw last season, and kind of projecting different things that'll change. Like, you won't have an injury for Francisco Lindor. Hopefully, Jose Ramirez, it doesn't take him, 40 games to get going, like it took him 3 months to get going last season. I think if with the Indians, if a lot of things return back to normal and they have a full healthy squad for the 60 games, I have ultimate faith that they can beat the Minnesota Twins out record-wise for the AL Central. But if a team like the White Sox, their young, up-and-coming roster, puts it all together, that's a team that scares me, because 60 games is a lot different than 162, especially when it comes to a team that doesn't have a lot of experience. The teams that are in that situation have a way bigger advantage than they would have over the course of a full season.
I'm going to make one prediction, and it's going to be out of the American League Eastern Division. I think the Tampa Bay Rays win that division over the Yankees.
That was another team that was right there for me. And if there was any year to do it, it's this year, because that's where you. Like 30 games, like think about it. So I think that they said August 31st was the trade deadline. That was the kind of tentative trade deadline that they put up.
Yeah.
You have 30 games to figure out what kind of team you are. So that to me means that if you have a younger team, starts out hot, and you don't have to deal with at the the teams like the Red Sox and the Yankees just reaching into their pockets over the course of a long season and just firing off trade after trade, adding all of these great top-level talents like that they tend to do at the trade deadline. I think that a team like the Rays, absolutely, that was another team that was in my mind about, like, they have a great shot at giving them a run for their money this year.
Oh, no question. And in the National League, I think San Diego is going to be a lot of fun to watch. That farm system, and again, we're going to find out just how good that farm system is, because to my knowledge, 50 or 60 kids are going to be, quote, taxi squad kids that get to work out with a major league club. And their farm system is absolutely positively loaded, and they've got some good young kids. Now, I don't think they're going to win the West, because the Dodgers are the best team in the National League, but I think the Padres are going to be one of the wild card teams. And I think that they could create some serious problems in the National League.
I really like that. I really like the Braves in the NL East. I think they can really. I think they're sitting pretty too.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed with that.
And I think that this Major League Baseball playoffs, the expanded playoffs that they're going to have for this year, as much as it's going to be a different viewing experience, because I don't know where you guys stand on this, but I think that Major League Baseball, the traditional playoffs that they have, being so hard to get into, and then you have like the fans in the stadium waiting on bated breath after every single pitch. Like, there's nothing like a Major League Baseball game that's close. You're not going to get that experience. But I think that where the intrigue will come from baseball this year is that with the expanded playoffs and the fact that you have these younger teams like the White Sox, like the Rays, like the Padres, like the Braves, who are, they're a little bit more of an established team compared to those other teams. But all of those teams are going to have a great opportunity to get into the playoffs. And what we've seen in baseball is that, hey, anything can happen. Nobody was given the 2016 Cleveland Indians a shot to even get past the Red Sox in the first round, let alone make it to Game 7 of the World Series against a loaded Cubs team. So you're going to have storylines like that. There's going to be a few surprise teams, a few young teams that make the playoffs in each league. And that, to me, is going to be a saving grace, is that you're going to have more teams involved at the end of the season, more fan bases that are interested in watching the game as it gets into those playoff rounds. And that's honestly one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to, aside from just Indian stories, having just general Major League Baseball stories, seeing these younger teams that would have otherwise probably not had a shot to make the playoffs just due to inexperience and being a year or two away, they're going to have opportunities now, and I think that that's going to be a good thing for the game.
Well, before we let you go, from the media perspective, this is going to be unique in that they're the ones that are going to be the eyes and the ears of the fans. not just Tom Hamilton, Rosie, and Matt Underwood, in Pittsburgh, Greg Brown, Joe Block. The broadcasters aside, the guys and gals that cover the team on a daily basis, fans are going to be on bated breath to read, to listen to people that are covering the team, listen to the sound bites. I know I've gone up to Progressive Field and PNC the last 4 or 5 years to do that when I was at iHeart. It's now more than ever, those people, those fortunate few that are going to be able to cover Major League Baseball, they're going to be commanding an awful lot of attention because the fans aren't going to be allowed to be in the stadium.
Yeah, and that's the big opportunity, and where Major League Baseball can get creative is how to create that content to deliver to the fans with the media, and I can only hope that the more media they let in, the better it's going to be of an experience for the fans. And that's the thing I worry about. Just being in the media space, I see a lot of my colleagues, they're hurting right now. And everybody's hurting. It's not just the media. It's every industry. But this is a great, great opportunity. And this is why I was so miffed about Major League Baseball, the squabble that they got into publicly. And that's the big thing, is I knew there was going to be issues with their agreement and coming together to try and play this season. I understand that there's going to be disagreements, but they really, from a PR standpoint, blew it on both sides, trying to pressure each other publicly while everybody was sitting there just saying, come on, can we please, in what we're going through in the world right now, if we're going to come to some sort of an agreement, can we at least think about the people that are going to be affected by this, the actual players that are on the field, the fans that would otherwise be in the stands watching it on television? It played out in such a way that you see diehard fans talking about, I don't know if I'm going to be able to support this year. So to have the media, there's going to be a humongous, I guess, load on them, pressure on them, but also it can create a great opportunity to be that first major sport back, to really get people to have some sort of sense of normalcy. Maybe not, it won't look the same, but to be able to see something on a daily basis, have those games to watch, and feel a little bit of normalcy from that. That's Major League Baseball. While they've really kind of blown it up to this point, in my opinion, they still have an opportunity to salvage what they have.
I'm one of those people that is not really interested one way or the other. Now, talk to me when July 24th comes around. I might finally change my opinion, but I'm pissed. I'm pissed at both sides, and I said on the air on Friday when the players shut down the owners, I said, you know what, screw it. I don't care if we have a season or not anymore. Any of these people don't deserve anybody's attention, and that's the end of that. Like I said, when the season starts, I'll probably change my tune, but I'm angry, and I hope and pray that the players and the owners understand that there's plenty of people like myself that, frankly, are going to need an awful lot of sucking up from both organizations in order to win me over again.
Now, I'm optimistic because I love this game and I don't want to see it die. But I'm realistic. I'm realistic as well. They have created a lot of bad sentiment, and it's their own fault. They can blame the other side as much as they want, but both sides were the ones that were so hard-headed that they couldn't come to an agreement in a very, very unique, a very troubled time in the world and in this country right now. They couldn't come to an agreement where it had to be the commissioner stepping in and taking that mandate that he had in his back pocket and creating the season just based off of that. They still are butting heads. They still are. Nobody's happy about this, and in turn, it just makes it look like to the average person, the average Major League Baseball fan, like, do you really care about us? So yeah, they have a lot of work to do, and I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible. But like you said, I think I'm with you. Until we see that first game come back, I'm a little bit skeptical on how the season's going to go.
I hear you, brother. Hey, Beebs, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you soon, brother.
Thanks for having me on. I always appreciate it.
All right, man. Chris Beeble, our guest in the first hour. We're going to take a real quick time out because on the other side, we got to talk golf. Excuse me. Good Lord, where did that come from? Probably a subway burp. Travelers Championship from the TPC River Highlands in Cromwell, Connecticut this weekend. Cromwell, Connecticut, up in the
Connecticut.
New England area. Lovey, pass the Grey Poupon, please. Yes. Lovey, please pass the Grey Poupon. Cromwell, Connecticut is the spot. TPC River Highlands, the place. We will hear from Brian Tolnar, and we'll get our golf swing on in just a bit. You're listening to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well-appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com. Storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Stay in the showers. I'm keeping my eye on in parts of Columbiana County.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Just after 1 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon, it is golf season. It's Wednesday. It's just after 1, and it's time to bring on the guru of Mill Creek. He is our golf guy, Brian Tolnar. We're going to talk some PGA with Brian, who appears on the YSN hotline. Brian, how are you today, sir? Uh-oh. Brian, you there? Uh-oh. Oh, no. Brian needs to call the YSN hotline at 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. Brian needs to call the hotline. I have no idea what just happened there. I swear I did everything the right way. I swear I put him on hold. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Brian, is this you, sir?
Yes, it is.
I swear I put you on hold.
All of a sudden, it was like nothing. I couldn't hear you.
This dang thing. I'm blaming it on the phone system, not on me. Hey, we're in the great state of Connecticut this weekend. Cromwell, Connecticut, home of the TPC River Highlands Golf Course, the Travelers Championship, the latest stop on the PGA Tour. Tell us a little bit about TPC River Highlands. What kind of a golf course are we expecting from the TPC River Highlands this weekend?
Well, I think, you're obviously going from a Pete Dye facility last week at the RBC Heritage down in Harbor Town. This was another golf course that was redesigned by Pete Dye in 1982, so there'll be some similarities to the green complexes there. It's a par 70 this week, 6,800 yards, which is a rather short golf course from PGA Tour standards, so I think you're going to see a lot of scores under par this week. The total for the winner to be close to 20 under par. The place is going to play firm and fast. The weather up there has been excellent. You're going to see a lot of birdies and a lot of eagles this week. Being that it's a par 70, it's hosted Jim Furyk's PGA Tour record of 58 back in 2016, so the guys can go super low there. Prior to that, the course record was 60, held by an amateur who's now a professional, Patrick Cantlay. When he was 19 playing at UCLA, he got a sponsor's invitation to play. Number of holes reachable, for the players that bomb it off the tee. It's definitely a bomber's paradise this week. The 15th hole is one that comes to mind. It's 296. A lot of water that comes into play. Some guys go for that green in one with their tee shot, and 3 par 5s are all reachable in 2 by just about every player in the field. Only 2 holes that really cause them any hiccups, number 5 and number 8, 2 200-yard plus par 3s this week. But the rest of them, from PGA Tour standpoint, anywhere that any time that you get par 4s that are 340 yards to 411 to 421 yards, those guys tend to have 150 yards or less into those holes and hit a lot of pitching wedges and sand wedges. So that equates to a lot of birdies on the PGA Tour, and I think you'll see that tournament scoring record of 258 and 25 under par was set by Kenny Perry in 2009 and Tim Norris back in 1982 of 25 under par really come into play, because it's going to be, weather perspective, it's going to be excellent for them all week. Thursday they kick off the week at 86 degrees, and they finish the weekend at temperatures topping out at 90 on Saturday and Sunday. There is a slight chance of rain on Sunday afternoon, but for the most part, this golf course is going to be playing firm and fast all week, so you're going to see a lot of low scores and a lot of birdies being made this week.
The Bombers, and you mentioned it's a Bombers paradise, but the thing about that is you better hit your fairways consistently if you're planning on bringing out the driver and going 310, 320. You better hit the fairway consistently, otherwise you can find yourself in a whole heap of trouble.
Absolutely. That the closing stretch, from basically 13 to 18. A lot of those holes are built around this lake. So, I mean, a lot of them, if you're not accurate, you can get yourself into some severe trouble. But, for how long and how straight that these guys, or the majority of them, hit it on the PGA Tour, I think they're really going to take advantage of being able to overpower this golf course. I mean, it's a field of 156 players. We're playing for $1.3 million this week, another 500 points in FedEx Cup. Number of players that have won this event multiple times, like we said, longer hitters certainly do well on this golf course. It was part of the PGA Tour's qualifying for the British Open. The top 8 of this event would normally get into that British Open, but since they canceled that event for this year, that sort of gets thrown out the window. It's an event that's been moved a little bit here and there with the Olympics being on the schedule. Traditionally, it's usually held the week after the U.S. Open, which in this case is going to be held in September this year.
Now, every week we kind of get your Power 5 and the golfers to watch for the weekend. So who are you putting on your Power 5, and who do you think has the best chance to win this weekend?
Well, my Power 5 started out today in a strong position, I thought. Brooks Koepka was leading that number 1 spot going into 5 with Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Bryson DeChambeau, and Colin Morikawa. But I guess Brooks Koepka a couple hours ago just tested positive for COVID, which means Brooks cannot play in the event. So
I think his caddy tested positive.
His caddy did, correct. Yeah, his caddy did. So he's not going to play this week, having his caddy off the bag. So, his distance and his strong final round at the RBC last week really put him in the driver's seat to get him to that number 1 spot. So I guess we can move up our 2017 champion Jordan Spieth. Obviously to take Brooks' spot in that number one pole position. Justin Thomas, I think, shooting 6 under last week in the RBC's final round. I think he's trending well. Bryson DeChambeau has been in the top 5 for the past 3 weeks. I think his distance off the tee was a disadvantage the last couple of weeks because he had to lay up on some of the holes. When you go to the TPC or River Highlands, he can take the restrictor plate off and he can bomb it all over that golf course. He's leading the PGA Tour in distance right now, and I think you'll see him take advantage of that, hitting some drives, well over 325 to 340 yards this week. Colin Morikawa is playing extremely well. Another one that we'll throw in there since the absence of Brooks Koepka, we're going to put Mark Leishman. It's another guy that's hits it a mile off the tees from Canada. He's got a ton of distance, and he knows the golf course extremely well. And my sleepers this week will be Chris Stroud, a past runner-up, and Bubba Watson, a 3-time winner. Anytime that you talk about TPC or River Highlands, you got to talk about a 3-time champion up there. He's played well in a number of events up there, has a couple second-place finishes as well. It's a golf course that really he can shape it well, and it fits his eye. So we'll move Jordan Spieth up to that number 1 spot this week, but Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Bryson DeChambeau, Colin Morikawa, and Mark Leishman will be our Power 5 this week.
I'm digging the fact that you said Mark Leishman because that's my guy for this week. I think that the course is perfectly made for him. He's won there before. I think that was his win there was his first win on the PGA Tour, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that the course is made for his caliber of play. I really like his chances this weekend.
I think so too. If you ever seen Mark Leishman in person, he looks like he's all of 6'5" and about 260 pounds. He's just a big-looking human being. And when you talk about bombing the golf ball on the PGA Tour, size and the amount of arc that you generate on your swing being that tall equals a lot of distance. So I think you're going to see him really excel this week, and I think he draws on what he's been able to do up there at the TPC River Highlands in the past. Obviously getting his first win there and having a number of wins since then. He's just a great fit for that golf course, similar to Bubba Watson, and where I thought Brooks Koepka would be that fit.
Last weekend, Jason Kokrak struggled mightily in South Carolina, and predictably, because I had said it was going to be feast or famine, and it was famine for Jason. He just struggled big time, missed the cut. I expect a different Jason Kokrak this week. He's certainly a dark horse because of the fact that he hits bombs off the tee, but for Jason, you got to be consistent, not only hitting bombs off the tee, but you got to be consistent putting the ball in the fairway and not putting it in the bunker, or in this case, putting it in the lake, because Lord knows there's a lot of water throughout the 18 holes at TPC.
There is. I believe 11 of the holes have water that come into play, and I think Jason started out of the gate, and I think he shoots like 67 or 68 on Thursday, and then followed up with a 73. Obviously missed the cut. If there's a golf course that would suit his eye, that has generous fairways, that he could take advantage of his length, it's certainly heading into Connecticut this week. I'm anxious to see where and how he's going to bounce back from how he finished up Friday in Hilton Head, and then kind of go from there. But I mean, it definitely is a golf course. If he gets the putter going and he's hitting it as well as he normally does off the tee, he should be in for a top 15, top 10 finish this week.
I'm going to go off the beaten path this week. I'm going to go with Dustin Johnson. What do you think about that pick?
You know what? He certainly brings the length to the table, and he's probably one of the 12 or 15 guys that I think really legitimately has a chance this week. It comes down to how well is he hitting his irons. He certainly has the length off the tee. He's got to hit a lot of greens. He really struggles when he misses greens, getting it up and down. His short game is not as tightly in shape as some other players on the PGA Tour, but he putts it when he's on fire as good as anybody, and if he can basically make sure that he hits it from tee to green extremely well, I think he's as good a pick as anybody.
So this is official. Dustin Johnson will win next week on the PGA Tour, and that will, in all likelihood, be, That would be the Workday Charity Open at Muirfield in Dublin, since we are not going to have. No, actually, it would be the Rocket Mortgage Classic. It would be the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. So that's when he's going to win.
All right.
Yeah, because Anthony has done a very nice job of picking a guy, and then he wins the next week. If Bryson DeChambeau wins this week, we certainly have a pattern. And now that the gambling is open in West Virginia, I'm telling you right now, if Bryson DeChambeau wins this weekend, I'm taking a trip down to Mountaineer, and I'm going to put some money on this week's, quote, winner from Anthony, because I know that he'll be the winner next week.
I think Anthony's doing some good time traveling and be here and there. He's always a week ahead of the course.
There you go. All right, Connecticut. That is our home for the weekend. Cromwell, Connecticut, TPC River Highlands. Again, no crowd as the Travelers Championship will be this weekend. Talk a little bit about, and we talked about this at not really at length when the PGA Tour came back with the Charles Schwab Challenge in Fort Worth, Texas. The fact that there are no fans. You have the media and you do have the national broadcasts, but there are no fans. It can kind of put some golfers at ease, and then again, it can kind of really make things weird in that, a golfer hits a really good shot and he doesn't get the energy from the crowd. So it's a little bit of some positivity, a little negativity.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, obviously heading into Connecticut this week, this is the second most attended PGA Tour event annually, just behind the Waste Management Phoenix Open, the one that they build the stadium around the par 3 and get, 200,000, 300,000 plus fans. Normally this tournament would attract anywhere north of 250,000. I think they broke the record last year on Sunday, having 70,000 fans there. So, I mean, if you are a player that goes off the momentum of the crowd, you're certainly deflated going into the week knowing that you don't have 70,000 fans, getting behind you and clapping and cheering. So I think it is a little bit different for those players that really feed off the crowds and feed off the momentum of the roars and the galleries that go there. Just like any PGA Tour event, it comes down to the people and the ticket sales that give you, the charities in the community. The Greater Hartford Community Foundation has been linked to this event since 2005. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Youngstown's old mayor, Jay Williams, is the CEO or executive director of that organization. So, not getting as much from a financial benefit that you would normally take off of the ticket sales to give that to your local community. Although I think they've raised north of about $42 million since 2005. It's a great deal of money for the community and the organizations and the organizations that the charities really benefit when the PGA Tour comes to your facility. I think that, rivaled with, we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago when we talked about the Memorial of possibly having fans at the Memorial, but not the first event. To have that hotel and travel tourism revenue and your restaurants filled, I think that's really what makes the event in your community prosper from a financial standpoint. So to have a little bit of that taken away from this event with not having fans, it'll be nice to see them in a week or two. Hopefully with the Memorial, they'll be back, because that's right now the talks of what's going to happen at the PGA Tour. I don't know at what capacity, whether it's at 100% capacity, you get X amount of people, or it's at a limited number. As of Monday, we just, changed into phase 2 of this COVID, which goes from 10 people to 50, still with the social distancing requirements. Now, on the golf course, as a fan or a spectator, you definitely have that built in with some social distancing spacing that's there, just being an outdoor event or in an outdoor venue. So I think that's a positive, but from a player's perspective, it's going to be a little bit weird for another week or two here on the PGA Tour.
Brian, for those that have never gone to a PGA Tour event or an LPGA Tour event, explain to those people that have never seen a live event what the atmosphere is like, because it is an awful lot of fun to go to one of these things.
It is. There's no doubt. And I've had the good fortune of when the LPGA was here in Youngstown, being a sign bearer for that as a kid, being at a venue that hosted that when I was the head professional at Avalon Lakes many years later. Going to Firestone, going to Memorial, and seeing those guys. The Cleveland Open, the Nationwide Tour used to come up there quite a bit. If you're a fan of golf, it is an excellent way to spend a day or a week. Whether it be you're a volunteer or you're just a spectator at the event, going there on Sunday, following the Sunday grounds or following, Tiger Woods' group, you can see where a lot of the foot traffic is populating. You can feel it on the ground. You can see it. You can hear the roars. It's super exciting. It'd be no different than going to a football game or your favorite college sport. Just the venue is electric. What I like about it best from a player's perspective is you get there early enough to watch the players warm up, hit balls on the driving range, chip and putt, really where they spend their time in preparing to get that first round or final round in, and watching just how good these guys hit the ball and how great their short game is. I watched Freddie Couples get it up and down from places that I've played up at Firestone that you could sit there with a bucket of balls and not get it within 5 feet, and these guys just make it look really, really easy. So I think from a fan's perspective, watching it on TV is one thing, but being there and seeing it in person, for the Masters, for example, if you had the opportunity to go there, or Firestone, TV doesn't do the golf courses justice on the undulation, the slope, how fast, how severe some of these greens are that some of these guys two-putt from or one-putt from, or, getting it over a bunker from 50 yards out with water on the other side and the green sloping towards the water, and these guys stop it on a dime. I mean, their games are remarkably good compared to when you come out and play and you just, beat it around the golf course. And it's like, yeah, I got that 10 feet, but I mean, they're knocking it inside 5 feet, 3 feet all day long, getting it up and down from just about everywhere. Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson are probably the best two that have gotten it up and down in some places that you can just sit there all day and not get any shots within 10 or 15 feet. So from a fan's perspective, I mean, it is neat to be able to go see those. And it's sad that these events, certainly, obviously with the COVID stuff, it's safety's number one, and that's what people are looking at. But from a fan's perspective, it's sad for them not to get that opportunity.
All right, it is time for the subject of conversation that I look forward to, and that is your weekly tip. A couple of weeks ago, we started talking about the putting game. Last week, we started talking about the sand wedge and the short game to go from, within 20, 30 yards of the green onto the green. What are we talking about today, Brian?
This week, we're going to throw you guys in a greenside bunker. So we want to get you to the point where you can get it up and down, or at least up and on the green, to give yourself the opportunity to knock in a putt and get what we call as a sandy in the game of golf, where you hit it on the green and you one putt. So anytime that you hit it in a greenside bunker, the first thing is that you want to identify is what is the condition of the lie of your golf ball. Is it sitting on top of the sand? Is it buried like a fried egg, like Phil Mickelson did at Wingfoot at the U.S. Open, where he really couldn't stop it on the green? Because that's going to determine the type of shot and how you want to execute the shot as you hit out of the bunker. So if it's just a normal lie, and we'll talk a normal lie where the ball is just naturally sitting on the top of the sand, you've got a marginal lip to get over, so we want to get some height on the ball. First thing we want to talk about is our stance. Our stance, just like it was last week with our chipping, we want to make sure it's 2 to 3 yards left of where we want the ball to land. If we're going straight at the flag, we want it positioned 2 to 3 yards left of where the flag is. If we're hitting to a spot, we want to make sure that it's adjusted to that spot. Ball position, you want to play front center. Weight position, you want to make sure you have on your front foot. So if I'm a right-handed golfer, which I am, I want to make sure that the weight is on my front foot. Very important. For whatever level that golf ball is in the bunker, we want to make sure the bottoms of our feet are at that level. So we want to dig our feet in. We want a nice, stable lower body. The majority of this shot is going to come out with your upper body and your arms. So we want to make sure that our lower body and our base is not moving that much. So we're going to make our contact with the sand about 1 inch to 2 inches behind, because we're hitting that greenside bunker shot. We're going to use the sand to help lift the ball and elevate it on the green. From a takeaway perspective on your backswing, this is probably the most important part of the bunker play. As you get to a greenside bunker, we want to maintain a steep angle of attack coming into the ball. So that means we want to take our hands back more vertical on the backswing. Normally your shoulders would rotate underneath your chin on any golf swing or a chip shot, and your shoulders work sort of like a clock back and forth underneath your chin. Here we want to make sure that our hands are going a little bit towards the sky, so our hands are a little bit steeper on the backswing, and then we want to make sure the back part of our hand, the lower hand, is coming down steeply in that bunker, hitting that 1 or 2 inches behind it. And the second piece of the equation that's just as important as our takeaway is we want to make sure we follow through high. The lower we follow through, or the more that we decelerate through, that sand will go from helping you lift the ball out to knocking the ball into the base of the bunker, the lip, the fringe, or the rough in between. So we want to make sure that our hands finish above our shoulders on our left-hand side. So you're going to take it up steeply on the backswing. You're going to splash the club underneath it, and you want your hands to finish high to create that sand, pushing that ball upward into the air. When the ball hits the green, it'll hit with a little bit more spin, because we have the tendency of putting more spin on it as it comes out of a bunker than it does off the fairway or out of the rough. So very important, steep takeaway, full follow through, accelerate through the shot. You want to keep that momentum going from impact all the way through.
I wrote everything down, and I wish that I had a sand trap right now that I could pull my sand wedge out and start practicing, because this sounds like something that I can do.
I'll tell you what, a lot of people are very in fear of any time that they hit it in the bunker, especially a greenside bunker, because you're afraid to take a swing that's that big. And the biggest common mistake is, I want to slow it down because I've made too big of a backswing. But what you got to keep in mind is you want to use the sand and where you hit behind the golf ball as the point out. That sand has to help you get the ball out, because if I stop, that sand's going to knock the ball down. So I think a lot of people do that, decelerate in, and then they stop at the ball, and then they're fearful of, hey, I'm in the bunker again. But if you accelerate through and you hit, right behind the golf ball and finish high, you're going to get every shot out every single time. So it's all about technique. Once you know the technique and get that mastered, every shot will come out relatively the same. And it's one of those things on the PGA Tour, those players rather be in a greenside bunker than they would be in the rough, because they know how it's going to come out of the sand each and every time. You don't know that when you're coming out of the rough, how much grass is going to get caught between the club face and the ball. Sometimes they come out good, sometimes they come out like a marshmallow. But in the sand, they know exactly how it's coming out every time. You just hope that you don't get that fried egg where the ball is really embedded in the bunker. But most of the places that we play up in this part of the country, have the luxury of the sand being packed down from the snow during the off season, so you don't really get some of those fluffy lies that you would see in Florida, in Arizona, or in California. But acceleration is the number one key in getting that shot out, and having a positive mind frame. When you get in there, think you're going to get it out the first time, and if you accelerate through, 9 times out of 10 you are.
And the worst thing that you could possibly do is hit the ball square where you're not putting any sand onto the ball. Because if you hit the ball square, not only are you going to hit it out of the sand trap, you're also going to hit it over the green, and you'll run into some bigger problems.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that we'll talk about when we get into the fairway bunker in a week or two from now. You want to catch the ball cleanly out of those type shots. You don't want to get too much sand between the golf ball and the club face. Total opposite of what you want to do when you get up close to the green. You want to use that sand to help you move the golf ball out of the bunker and onto the green. And if 9 times out of 10, if you get it on the green, you've got a good opportunity to knock a putt in and get it up and down, or get it close to where you don't have to hit another bunker shot or hit a chip shot if you land in between the bunker and the green.
What do you think is the biggest misconception to hitting in the bunker?
Well, I think number one, people are afraid when they get in there because they're afraid they're not going to do well. And if you're set up the wrong way or you're swinging the wrong way and your technique is a little bit off, odds are it gets shown 9 times over. So, I mean, you're going to look worse than it really is. I mean, that's the shot that if you do pick it clean, like, he said, is going to go over the green 50 yards, and then you've got a 50-yard shot in. So I think the margin for error, if you do it improperly from a technique standpoint, magnifies what the shot's going to look like. So I think, number one, people are fearful of hitting in there. Number two, if you have a green that slopes away, they're afraid they want to try to help the ball up. They want to try to lift the ball. And that's the first thing that goes back to that first error where you catch more of the golf ball. You have to be confident in using the sand to lift the golf ball out. And if you're confident in your technique, the sand is going to help you hit the shot, and it's going to allow you to put that backspin on it. It's going to get it to stop when it goes down that slope. Where if you're lifting it, you're taking the sand from in between the club face and the ball. It's helping you put the backspin on it, taking it off completely, and it's going to go 9 miles and not stop on you.
Brian Tolnar from the Mill Creek Golf Course is our weekly guest talking the PGA tournaments. The PGA Tour this week takes their stop in Connecticut, the Travelers Championship from the TPC River Highlands, Cromwell, Connecticut. Brian, before we let you go, obviously Father's Day weekend was about as nice as you're going to get until Sunday night. Now, we've certainly had a lot of rain this week. Has that changed the golf course in a positive way? And what are some of the things that you guys have been doing with all the rain this week?
You know what? We've been able to kind of dodge it here and there. We did get some late Sunday evening. Gave out a few rain checks, but, I mean, for the most part, Friday and Saturday got a half an inch of rain, which we actually kind of needed a little bit. Yesterday, we picked up about an inch of rain. We had the Vindy's Greatest Junior Golfer yesterday and managed to get that in. The kids played in, probably 2 little 10-minute light rains here and there. So we dodged all the stuff that sort of was coming at us, sort of broke and went around us. So the kids had the opportunity to get in, and we ended up getting our leagues in last night with, probably about an inch of rain between night and 7 o'clock when the kids started teeing off. So, we certainly have been lucky. We've gotten rain when we need it. Anytime you're in the golf business, the superintendent loves to get rain. It's always at night. For us, it's a good soaker and everything gets covered. Irrigation can only cover you, your tees and your fairways and your greens. The natural rain is going to help you with your roughs and some other areas that don't catch irrigation. So we're always thankful that, Mother Nature helps out. Big difference between last year and this year. At this time last year, we were under about 15 feet of water, and we were closed for about 5 weeks. Our AJGA tournament just got a shortened event in, so I mean it's been a good one this year, and it's been a great month for golf and giving people the opportunity to come out and play. And the rest of the week looks pretty good too. We've got a demo day coming up here tomorrow from 1 to 7. So I mean it's our first of the day after COVID took us out in April, so we're excited to do that. But just all in all, it's been a great season for golf so far on the days that we've been allowed to be open, so we can't complain.
And if you wanted to shoot a challenging 18-hole golf course, well, you've got 2 choices. You can do the North Course at Mill Creek, or you can do the South Course, and both courses are very challenging, especially if you're a golfer that's trying to get better. Either course is going to provide you a serious challenge. Tell everyone your greens fees and some deals that are going on before we let you go, Brian.
Certainly. If you're a senior in the Mahoning Valley, it's $28 for 18 holes in the cart. Our senior rate's good for 7 days a week. Weekends, it'll be after 1 o'clock. One of the few that offer the same rate over 7 days. We do the same for Mahoning County residents, $36 for 18 holes in the cart. Non-Mahoning County residents is $44, 18 holes in the cart, and those fees are good 7 days a week. What I think is really unique about our facility is if you play in a golf league here, normally you fluctuate from back to front on an 18-hole property. Here you get to play a different 9 holes every week for a month. So basically you'd rotate from the front 9 of the north, the back 9 of the north, and then do the same on the south. So you definitely get a lot more variety and a little bit more of point of difference when you play in the league out here. So I think that that's really unique from that aspect. You don't have to play the same facility day in and day out. It rotates through the course of a month's time. So couldn't find a better golf course to play league at from a variety standpoint. And I think that really is what makes us unique.
It's one of my favorite golf courses in the area, and I promise, Brian, my dad and I will be golfing there, and I have literally written all of your tips down, and I cannot wait to use all of these because I'm definitely going to be in a bunker at some point in time, and I don't know how many strokes it'll take to get close to the green, but I'll certainly use that, and then when I'm on the green, obviously, I'll be using the advice from the first week of our little excursion through the PGA season. So keep the advices coming because sooner or later I'm going to become a really good golfer because of these advices.
That's what I think. By the end of the year, you'll be shooting even par or under par.
Yeah. Let's tone down our expectations a little bit there, Brian. Come on.
big goals, positive, big goals.
Hey, that's a huge goal. My handicap right now is my golf game. So hopefully by the end of the season, my handicap will be say 5 or 10. That would be nice.
Hey, we can get you there. If like I said before, any of these things that we're giving you, if you can improve a shot or two every hole or every other hole, it adds up quick, and you drop shots very, very fastly. So, take advantage of it.
Absolutely will. Brian, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you next Wednesday, brother.
You got it. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Anthony.
You got it. Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek, previewing the LPGA event up in Cromwell, Connecticut, as well as the piece of advice that I cannot get enough of the advice from someone who clearly knows what he's talking about.
I liked your modeling over there too of the technique that he was trying to convey.
Oh yeah, I'm always, because we have Brian's mug on the during the interview, so you don't see me doing what I was doing. Let me flip to, there we go. So while Brian was talking,
I thought you were doing that for the viewers.
Here I am, doing one of these things. So I'm in the bunker. I'm going to go way up here and way up here, and magically the ball's going to hit the sand. Sand's going to hit the ball. Ball's going to go in the air, and it's going to be within 4 feet of the cup, and I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, but remember what he said, you want your hands to come down vertical.
Yeah, vertical.
Sweep down.
So sweep down.
And
not come down like this, but sweep down.
And get that club about an inch behind the ball.
Yeah.
To hit.
Gotta hit it behind the ball. So all kinds of good stuff. So I write all this stuff down, and I haven't been able to try any of this, but we've gotten the lesson on the green. We've gotten the lesson approaching the green, and now we have a lesson from the fairway or from the green bunker. Next week is going to be fairway bunker, which I tend to put a ball in, and it's different. And I'm glad Brian said it's different because you don't want to touch the sand when you're in a fairway bunker. You want to hit the ball flush in order to get it a long way.
You're not worried about overshooting the green when you're sitting in a fairway bunker. So
exactly. And it's not like I'm going to be hitting a ball on the green from 175 yards out on a fairway bunker. That's probably not going to happen.
So Dustin Johnson, he had Spieth. Who do you pick?
I took Fleischmann.
Okay.
Yeah, I took Fleischmann. I think that he's won there before. He's had some good success. I'm going to take him. He's my dark horse.
DeChambeau's going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And who did you say is?
Dustin Johnson's on next week.
So Dustin Johnson is going to be your winner at the Rocket Mortgage. I swear to you, if DeChambeau wins this week, you and I are taking a trip to Mountaineer Park, Chester, West Virginia, and we're going to put money on Dustin Johnson. Maybe we'll get DJ's $100 bill that he used as a prop when when we had Seabass on Friday and say, hey, we need that prop again. We're going to go down the mountain here and take a bet on Dustin Johnson to win the Rocket Mortgage. So maybe we can get that as his prop. So there you go. All right, 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. What do you say we take a timeout and we'll get back with more? It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point. Ron and Anthony with you right up until 3 o'clock. You're listening to Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Look, I'm living the dream. Platform shoes, straight down the street. It's gonna get hot in here. I hope you can handle the heat.
Over the years, you watched us grow, and as we've grown, so has the Myers Family Insurance team.
Thanks to all of you who have trusted our families to help you with your Medicare needs.
Myers Family Insurance looks forward to helping you now for years to come, so call our family today and remind them how cute we are.
Myers Family Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. I have got a little contraption here that we're hoping is going to be okay. I feel like the mad scientist right now. I've got the Arizona green tea with ginseng, and on my other hand, I have lemonade. Are you familiar, Anthony, with the Arnold Palmer drink?
Yeah, lemonade.
Okay. Lemonade and iced tea. So if I were to... Oh, dumbass. You immediately screwed this up by putting lemonade on your keychain. Notre Dame and lemonade do not mix. Fortunately, I have a napkin, and we're going to clean that little mess up. Let me see how this tastes. I can live with that. I can live with this. Arnold Palmer has never steered me wrong. I mean, not only a great golfer, this is a great drink. I can live with this. Tasty. All right, so I'm going to pour some more lemonade into the iced tea, and there you go. Maybe I'll shake this thing up. Of course, I got to put the cap on really, really well here, because if I don't, I'm going to have all kinds of crap all over the place. And this isn't carbonated, is it? I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
Well,
Science.
Yeah. If it's carbonated, we're screwed 50 times over, because when I open this thing up, it'll explode everywhere. Nope. No carbonation, so that's good. Very, very good. All right. Tasty stuff here. An Arnold Palmer. And for those that are not familiar, the Arnold Palmer drink is part lemonade, part iced tea. This is tasty. I can dig it. It's a good summer drink.
And it's not, you mixed it yourself, so.
And I mixed it myself, so we're all good here. A little bit more lemonade there.
Yeah, let's go into town on that.
There we go.
Take a drink, add more lemonade.
I think vodka and lemonade with this would be phenomenal.
That's not.
Kids
it's a little early for hard liquor.
Yeah, kids don't do that. If you're under 21, you're not allowed to do that. But I'm just saying, vodka, lemonade, and iced tea would be friggin' phenomenal.
If we had like running point from like 6 to 9, then maybe some vodka lemonade. But
running point after dark would include alcohol.
12 to 3 might be a little early for hard liquor.
Well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I'm just saying.
It's not, because it's only 1:45, so it's not 5 o'clock anywhere.
Well, it's past 5 o'clock in Italy, but we're not in Italy. It's 5 o'clock somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Maybe there's an island somewhere, an uncharted desert island where a guy named Gilligan and a guy named what was the professor's name? Roy Hinckley. Yeah, Jonas Grumby, which was the skipper. Roy Hinckley, which was the professor. Maybe there's an uncharted desert island in the Atlantic Ocean where it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Well, if I'm on an uncharted island, it's 5 o'clock all the time because no one's stopping me.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I've often thought about this. The movie that...
Did you ever watch Gilligan's Island and think they might get off the island this episode? Because
oh, God, no. Yeah. It's like, is this going to be the time? It's kind of like being a Cleveland sports fan prior to 2016. Every episode of Gilligan's Island. Is this going to be the time they get off the island?
They're going to get off this time, guys.
No. You screwed up. Gilligan's J.R. Smith. You screwed up again. And thanks a lot.
And LeBron's the skipper. Always giving him the dirty eye.
Yeah. I don't know who the professor would be in that scenario.
I don't know. In 2016 or 17 Cavs? I don't know.
Sure as hell wasn't Ty Lue.
No.
He was not very professorial. I did like Ty, but yeah, he just couldn't get it done. So, is what it is. All right, 330-886-0813. I swear, this is not alcohol. See,
it's not Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Ohana Lemonade.
Ohana means family.
Yeah. So, family lemonade.
Family means...
going into my green tea with ginseng.
Yes.
I don't know what gin...
Not gin.
Well, no, not gin. Not gin, but ginseng. Yeah, it's not gin. All right? I'm just, and then we're not playing cards. We're not playing gin. So, yeah. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and this would taste a whole lot better with vodka, lemonade, and iced tea. I'm just saying. It really would. That is really good. That has quickly become my summer drink now. Non-alcoholic drink.
If you put vodka in it, you could take it to full court press, and that could be their drink of the week. Because they like to
That's true.
Have a drink of the week.
I gotta believe that Rasil and Higgins have tinkered with the Arnold Palmer.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
Yeah, come on.
Come on.
This is a slam dunk. I mean, if an amateur like me would sit back and pontificate that vodka, lemonade, and iced tea would make a phenomenal drink, I'm sure that professionals like Coach Rasil and Coach Higgins are a few steps ahead of me.
Oh, yeah.
And have probably tasted the product and have given its thumbs up anyway.
They're a few steps ahead of the world, so
yeah, there
they've probably already done that and then added something else that no one's ever thought of to it.
Full court press on Friday at 4 p.m. The former coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, Jeff Rasil.
Did you see episode 1? It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
They're not afraid to speak their mind.
No, and that's why we love them.
Yeah,
because they're genuinely themselves.
Yeah, and they have no problem saying what they feel. So there you go. That's good stuff. All right, 330-886-0813 as Major League Baseball the training camp will get underway around July the 1st. The regular season, somewhere around July the 24th. I'm going to ask, Anthony, the ideas that Chris Biebel and yourself and myself were kicking around, in the grand scheme of things, do you think Major League Baseball is actually going to follow through with any of these things?
Well, they're going to follow through with the things they've already put out, like the runner on second base and the universal DH, things they've already said they're going to do. As far as the social media platforms and the miking up players and things that we thought they could do to really market the game this year, I hope there's someone in that room that says, guys, this will be really smart. We need to do this. But baseball has proved time and time again, unfortunately, that it's easy to miss the ball for the MLB. They like to swing and miss. So I'm confident, but I'm not going to sit here and say they're 100% going to hit a home run on their social media and marketing standpoint.
I really wish Major League Baseball could take a page out of the National Hockey League and their marketing. The National Hockey League, even though it's a sport that it is starting to catch on, their marketing is sensational.
Let's take it for example. Yesterday, social media for these teams should have been exploding because
absolutely
baseball is back. I saw every team maybe posted one little graphic of their players, in a design, and then they said baseball is back. That's it. They should have had like a whole day planned where they were gonna, do fan interactions, get players to do little like maybe 1 minute interviews to say why they love baseball being back, things like that. Because yesterday should have been a great day for social media on baseball, but it really was kind of ho hum.
I feel like Major League Baseball specifically is thinking more like, and I'm going to call myself out on this because I'm getting better on social media, but I'm not. Social media to me is something that I jumped on board with in my 40s. We didn't have this stuff when I was a kid. We didn't even have computers when I was a kid. Computers were starting to become a thing about my junior or senior year in high school, and we really didn't have internet until I was well into my 20s, and social media wasn't around until I was in my 40s. So we're not used to this. The point I'm trying to make, Major League Baseball has really screwed themselves in that they don't hire, or historically have not hired, men or women in their 20s that should be in charge of their social media account. Someone that is forward thinking and grew up in the internet era. Someone like me, it would be a huge waste of time. I would be horrible trying to get everyone, a quality Facebook or a quality Twitter account. But if you get someone who has grown up in that era and they're smart enough to do this, I think that it would be just a huge advantage for a major league team if they decided to go that direction. And judging by the crap that we're seeing, not many of those teams have gone that direction.
And things like this, like I just went on the Royals Twitter just to see. When you post things like this on Twitter, and it's a statement from I think their president, and it's like a long-winded paragraph.
Yeah.
People on Twitter aren't going to stop and read this.
No, of course not.
This isn't causing engagement. And that's just a mistake. It's a swing and a miss on your tweet. So they need people that understand social media to run their social media accounts. And it feels like teams across the league, some teams get it more than the Indian social media. I'll give them props. The Indians' Twitter is always very engaging, and they'll respond to people. And if someone's like throws them shade, they'll throw shade right back. And I love their Twitter account. It's very entertaining. But it's not across the board. Every team needs to get on board on hiring people that understand social media and that can really drive their social media account, especially this season, because as we said with Chris, it is a great year to try to bring on that generation into baseball.
Absolutely. And some of the players, Trevor Bauer is a perfect example. I mean, he is having an absolute blast on social media, and he loves tweaking people.
Use that. I mean, like, what if Trevor Bauer took over the Reds Twitter account one day during the season?
Oh, good Lord.
Like a Reds Twitter account takeover. Obviously, give him guardrails.
Yeah.
But still,
because he'd drive the car right through the guardrail and over the cliff.
Fans would love that. Or even better, have him take over your Instagram account and answer questions live. Stuff like that would be gold if you have a player that understands social media like Trevor Bauer does. And that's the thing, a lot of baseball players don't really understand social media either. There's not a lot of strong baseball social media personalities, but he's one of them. So if you have him on your team, you should definitely be using him the best that you can.
And there are some guys that love interacting with the fans, and whether it's via social media, other things, they love interacting with the fans. This era of baseball is really missing out on an opportunity to win over the younger fan base. When you don't have a solid social media, you're pretty much telling your millennials and kids that are teenagers that like the game of baseball that, you know, they'll watch a game, but they're really not that interested or invested in baseball because, frankly, baseball doesn't do some of this stuff. And again, this is coming from a person who really doesn't do a great job in social media, but I understand the importance of social media. If you want to market the game of baseball, you will have to use a social media platform to do that, to get the attention of the teenagers and the millennials.
And here's a great thing. I mean, Instagram Live has this feature where you go live on Instagram like you would on Facebook or Twitter. And there's a feature where people can request to go live with you. And it would, like, if you accepted it, it would go into a 2-box. And then you can talk with them like you're talking on a web chat. Imagine if every MLB team once a week had a player do that, have a live Instagram stream, pick like 6 people in the comments to accept into the stream. And imagine if you're a kid that's 14 years old and you got to web chat for even like a minute with Mike Trout. What that would do for you as a baseball fan.
Absolutely.
Do it. Let's go.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're a Pirates fan and you wanted to web chat with Josh Bell,
right,
or anyone else, my God, that's a great idea. All right, let's go to the phone lines. We got our Class B talk coming up here with a man that was just honored by the Class B League, Mr. Mike Cifaldi, joining us on the YSN hotline. Mike, how are you today, sir?
Good, Mr. Potesta. Any day I talk to Ron Potesta, it's a good day.
I told DJ that I'm jokingly calling you from here on out the Billy Martin of B League for your seven gamer that you're. Are you still serving it, or is it over with now, Coach?
No, 6 more games, and I took the bullet for Coach Cortez, and he ended up bringing another gun, and he got 5. and I jokingly on Facebook, and that was because I put LOL Happy Father's Day, but the umpire, I said, and he should have gotten life.
Well, look, I know it's a bad call when you get a 7-gamer out of the deal because you're normally a mild-mannered person, and Lord knows I've made a couple of screwed-up calls when I was umpiring against one of your teams, and it wasn't. I didn't get that reaction from you, so this must have been a real beaut.
Well, I can tell you it's a no tolerance because in the before the season started, we're the only one of the leagues that actually has fields to play on. and even in the Diamond League. So we weren't sure where the umpires were going to be. Way behind the catcher, which is suicide, as you know. You've had, been around baseball your whole life, or behind the pitcher's mound. Well, he was actually behind the catcher, and there was a pop-up. And now it's seen, I think they do it on purpose. The baseline, the infield's manicured very well, and then past the foul line, the baseline, the grass gets a little higher. Well, Ethan Shaw was over by second base. It was our fault. The scoreboard showed 1 out, and I knew there was 2, so I just got ready to, with 2 outs, you move your third base infield back and whatever. So it didn't come out of my mouth. The kid hits a lazy fly ball up, and it drops right in the high grass. Ethan couldn't get over there. The third baseman couldn't get back. It was so far foul, we told him just to leave it there, and we looked at the umpire and said, how could you? He said, well, it hit the dirt, and then it bounced over there. Well, there's no fly ball with no spin on it, just a lazy fly ball going up and hitting anything and bouncing the total opposite way. It would have bounced straight, back towards the outfield or whatever. But that was it, and then I really went off because I saw him behind the home plate, behind the catcher. If I would have realized it, I wouldn't have probably did what I did. But I did it. It's too late. I'm going to enjoy doing some broadcasting with DJ, and we'll have a lot of fun.
See, now this is going to just lead you right into something that you're really good at as well, because I've heard you do a few things back in the day, and you're a good baseball guy. You'll provide some expert commentary when DJ's doing the game.
Well, I hope so. I did some with Caparanis,
yep.
And then we had the boxing show, Inside Boxing, for 10 years, and interviewed some of the biggest names in the boxing from around the country. So, I'll be as quiet as I can up there because he has a job to do. I'll just keep him entertained a little bit.
Hey, a week or so ago, to your surprise, the B-League honored you for being a mentor to the youth of the Mahoning Valley for the last 50 years. And, the first thing that I thought of was, wait a second, Mike's not even 60 years old. What the hell's going on here? How can he have mentored youth at 10 years of age? Because, prior...
I'm going to be 70.
Yeah,
70 this year.
Exactly, because prior to the first time that I left the area in '98, you were knee deep in B-League baseball, but you were also mentoring kids on the football field, mentoring kids with boxing and whatnot. I mean, Mike, I know that you absolutely love mentoring the kids in the Mahoning Valley, and just talk a little bit about the 50 years that you've had an opportunity to do just chosen sports with some of the best with the kids in the Mahoning Valley.
Well, there were a lot of, they put the hard hats, but that wasn't until 72 or 73. I actually was, I guess you could call it, like, I was a guy in the steel mill. I went right in the mill when I was, graduated. And a guy down at the mill asked me to come down and help, with his girls. I did, and that's how I started coaching. And I've actually coached at Mill Creek girls, Mill Creek boys and girls, until we left to start our travel team, which we ended up being Roth Brothers. I coached Holy Name boys basketball and girls. Boys basketball. I coached Immaculate Heart of Mary boys and girls basketball. Had no kids there. A friend of mine, Jim Amadeo, asked me to go help. So I was there. I was with the Austintown Colts from 83 to 2012. In the meantime, one of the be the head coach, head 8th and 9th grade coach at Canfield High School under Coach Bayak. I started a team called the Tri-County Merchants, and we had the who's who of baseball on that team. Went with Sam, with Ross Brothers. I coached with Terry Landis back in the day in Babe Ruth. I coached with Tony Gorvette. Coached with John Zizzo. I had the radio show for 10 years inside boxing. Started doing boxing promotions. Mrs. Mancini, myself, and Dave Schaefer to come and help her. I think it was 1978, 79. And then we just stayed in the boxing game. And I coached at East High School, head coach, coached at Boardman, where I still am with Joe Gabriel. I recruited for the University of Akron with Coach Frost. I recruited for Indiana Tech, Coach Hirschberger, for Eastern Gateway. I even helped Coach Todd when he was at Ohio State get a player or two. And now I'm helping out Coach Hirschberger, who was with Ivy Tech. He wants to get some local kids more involved up there because he had a great group of kids when my son Michael was there and Jason Pizzat. And just so many kids went up there. Raymond Butler. And Ivy Tech actually beat St. Clair 3 times last year. And they're just a phenomenal JUCO school. So, and I'm sure there's a few I forgot, Ron. But, you know, that's a lot in 50 years, I think.
You know, through the months of spring, we were kind of unsure if we were going to even have baseball in the summer, you know, with all the stuff going on. We just didn't know. And I'm interested to know, the day one of Scene Park and when you got to walk on the field as a coach, what was that experience like after going through all the months of spring, not knowing if there was going to be baseball or not, and then, you know, being able to kind of breathe in the reality that you had baseball was back at Scene Park, and what was that kind of like for you?
It was fun. I'll tell you what, you know, you have to give props where props are deserved. And, you know, if it wasn't for Scott Rourke and Bob Seen Jr., we wouldn't be playing because there was Diamond League was asking Scott to come down and be able to play down here, and he closed it all off. So by the grace of God, having these young men, even though we're not playing a full schedule with no tournaments, you couldn't wait to get out on the field. It felt like really good, like not off of our shoulders, I don't believe so much as coaches, but off of the shoulders of the young men that lost their high school seasons to be able to walk out on that field and play ball. And there was an exuberation from our coaching staff, and I'm sure all of the ones in the league, to be able to see baseball played. And once again, thank you to the Class B League, and thank you to Bob Seen Sr. and Scott Rourke.
Mike, your relationship with Roth Brothers goes back a few years. Talk a little bit about what Roth Brothers and that organization has meant to you.
Well, I was still doing the Merchants in 90, 91, but we were starting to filter kids in through to the Roth Brothers. And I got involved with Rich Wardle, Mike Wardle, and Sammy DePizzo and Mikey Gennari, T.C. Gennari. The Wardles, anybody that know the Wardles, we had the best of the best. And our first actual year in the league, Ron, we kind of got hosed. I'm not even going to get into it, but we kind of got hosed against a very formidable Goldstein's team. There was a horrendous play. No, I didn't get thrown out, but we should have made it to the championship that first year. But we won the Connie Mack tournament that had one of the largest fields that it had, and we got to do that, and I got away from Roth for a little bit. We split, which the first year we split when I went to Sports Cage, we won the Class B championship, and it should have never have happened. I'm not going to get in. Nobody was mad at anybody. Me and Sam listened to a few people we probably shouldn't have, but had we stayed together, we would have won many, and they still won championships. We would have won many more. I got back involved in 2000. Oh my God, 2000. maybe 98. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been back with the Roth, but one of the second oldest franchises in Class B baseball, next to the Astro Falcons, and it's a pleasure to play for the Wardles. I mean, coach for the Wardles and play for them, and now they're getting back into it. Rich Wardle, Sean's son, is playing, so they're getting back into it, and henceforth, if you remember back in the days, Ron, I know you have a great memory. Our original colors were navy, red, and white, and then that's why we went back to the navy, red, and white this year. But long story short, anytime you could do anything for the Roth brothers with the Wardles, it's a great day. It's a great day for baseball.
You brought up something that I just absolutely loved doing in the mid-'90s when I cut my teeth doing play-by-play before I ventured out to minor league baseball, and that was the Connie Mack tournament in Youngstown. And for those that were not around in the 80s and 90s, and we can go back earlier than the 80s, the Connie Mack tournament was a statewide tournament, and it brought the who's who of Sandlot baseball into Youngstown and the various baseball fields that hosted the Connie Mack tournament. And it year after year, it did not disappoint. There was some damn good baseball played throughout a lot of the Sandlots in the Youngstown area. And the NABF, fantastic. Whenever we have something in Youngstown that brings in other teams, it's always fantastic. But I will always say the Connie Mack tournament was year in, year out the best thing about Sandlot baseball, other than the B-League regular season and playoffs. Connie Mack tournament in Youngstown year after year was the best thing about Sandlot baseball in the Youngstown area.
Oh, it was so. I remember Sammy going to Oxford and playing against Ken Griffey Jr., and I believe Ken Griffey played up here. And then I would be remiss if I didn't include, I helped Coach Mingo with his team, and we went to Johnstown every year and got to play against Manny Ramirez. And there's been other players that have played for the boys club out of Brooklyn. But you're right, Ron. It was the tournament. Midland, obviously, you know all about Midland. A lot of people don't know much about them with Joe Hayden, but absolutely just a brutal team to play. But there's been teams that have gone and beaten them, as Steve Leslie went with the Astros. But the Connie Mack, none of the NABF is a shell of itself. The Connie Mack, and you remember because we hosted it, the Cava.
Oh yeah,
and that was a fantastic. That's now like they have a high school World Series, and now that's one of the top teams. I mean, top tournaments in the league. And the NABF, fortunate to go down there and help with Ray Tamburo. We won the World Series in 1998, also down in Louisville, Kentucky, and that was quite a team. I'm not getting all the players, but let me put it this way: at Pemberton, we hosted the tournament. There wasn't a game that we didn't win by 10 runs. It was pretty cool. But I would say the Connie Mack, and then if you ever have been around the AAABC World Series that they play in Johnstown, that all the right moves were made on, and now it's a baseball field. And the opening night, if you get to play in front of the hometown Johnstown Johnnies, there's up to 18,000 people that go to that game.
Yeah, it's that in Farmington, New Mexico, is a phenomenal, joint.
I've only seen pictures of Farmington. Never had the pleasure.
No, I've never been there either, but I've heard stories, and they say that much like in Johnstown, that first night they do the parade of the teams and whatnot, and if you're playing in Johnstown, if you're playing the local team, you're going to be playing in front of a very, very large crowd.
Yeah, I know. I think Steve Leslie made it there, I want to say Astros made it twice, maybe 3 times, but Steve Leslie went down. They had that all-star, it wasn't an all-star team, but it was a travel team. Gus LeBovie pitched on it with them. Gus also played for Midland. And then Goldstein's went down there, with Tommy Harris and Mike Goldstein, obviously. And man, you start going back to those old names, like the Rudy Granitos and the Goldsteins and just, Bob Seen Sr. and all. And this area has been blessed on great organizations from top to bottom. Any year, it's just been blessed, and I think that's what makes coaching in the Youngstown Class B League so much fun, is because of the camaraderie between all of the coaches from back then till now. Even you could be rivals, like Bob Seen and Mike Goldstone, but at the end of the day, they hated each other on the field, but they loved each other off the field.
Let's talk a little bit about Class B this year in the season. I mean, we were broadcasting all these games. Man, the talent level at Class B and then the way it's spread out among the teams, it's really eye-opening. Talk a little bit about the talent you guys see night in and night out, not just on your team, but on the other teams in Class B, and how awesome it is to see the talent in baseball in this area.
Well, if you start with Astro Falcons, the Astros are, anybody that says they're not the team to beat, they're just pretending. I think they have 10 or 12 Division I players on that team, and this may be the best team that Don Pletcher's ever had, and he's had some really good ones. Creekside is loaded also, top heavy. 18U, a lot of 18U players. Actually, the first time we played, we have a pitcher, Baez, from Champion, a 6'5" lefty, and when he left the game, it was 0-0, and the kid that we brought in, he doesn't throw very hard, but he couldn't locate, so we ended up not faring well. But to lose to Creekside isn't a bad scenario. And then you have Terry Dobson, who has a bunch of good players, and you have Tommy Otto. The thing that happened this year, and we're loaded with our 17U, with Shaw and Hollabaugh and LJ and the EJ, the quarterback from Mooney, and we got some good 18s, but our 17U is loaded. But what happened to some of these teams this year is that, like Tommy Otto lost 5 or 6 players, maybe 7. 3 or 4 of them because of the virus. They didn't want to play. Same happened with Terry Dobson. Some kids backed out on him at the end. So, if you see Nightliner, you see Dura, and they're not winning like they normally do, it's going to take a while, but both of them will be back, into the playoff scenario, because 6 teams out of 10 make the playoffs, and that's what you strive for. But, yes, as a whole, there's always a lot of talent in the B-League. That's why a school like Ivy Tech in Fort Wayne, Indiana, wants to get players from here to go play there, because they know what kind of talent we have.
Well,
So,
not just Ivy Tech. There's a school here in Youngstown, and Dan Bertolini, who is a B-League graduate.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he's doing a phenomenal job of trying to get the best of the best that aren't going to a Power 5 conference and keeping those kids in Youngstown. And Dan's done a pretty nice job to this point.
Well, Dan, I don't know if I've ever seen it. I don't know. You probably have, Ron. I think he had, and they're all eligible to come back. And I think Youngstown started a little rough, but they were hitting it pretty good, and at the end of a shortened season. But I want to say he had 5 for sure, maybe 6 redshirt senior pitchers. I've never seen that before. So, if they come back, I think there could have been good things from them last year, because they made big strides from the year before. And he's only been coaching, 3 years at YSU?
Yeah, it'll be his 4th year next year. You are correct.
And he's trying to keep the local players, but 2 of the winningest coaches in Youngstown State history were Zizzo and Kabaki, because of not the amount of years that Coach, oh my God, what was his name? Oh God, he was a basketball coach, football coach.
Don Roselli.
Tom Roselli.
Yeah.
But Zizzo and Kabaki kept. If you go back and look at their rosters, they were loaded with local players. I mean, Kabaki, I still to this day, my son went to Akron first, and to this day I see Don all the time. Dan, I mean Kabaki, and he tried to recruit my son to go to Youngstown, and wish he would have, even though he went to Akron. But keeping the locals here is just a diamond for the YSU coaches. And as you know, we've had a couple coaches that have been here and left that didn't do a very good job of coaching. I mean, of recruiting local players, and that's why they're not here anymore.
Well, certainly the B League, and I told Skip when he first took the job that the B League is going to be a platform for Dan Bertolini to use, and to his credit, he has done a fantastic job of using this platform, and it seems that he's gotten the ear of a lot of kids in this area, and that's the one thing that I've said, and I know I've ruffled a few feathers when I say it. Our baseball is known statewide more now than our football.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you ruffle my feathers, but I still say football-wise we're pretty good, but we're not. It's not as. I think more if you would have said this 7-8 years ago, I might have said. But now baseball is, if you go look around at the kids that we have all over the country, unfortunately, yes, and the state championships, and teams getting to the state championships. When Beamer was at Springfield, didn't they go to the twice?
Yeah, they went to the state tournament. I know Western Reserve went to the tournament twice. Poland has been there a number of times. Ursuline was there. Canfield, South Range, champion in South Range back-to-back years, winning the D3 state title.
And the girls softball. And my nephew Paul Kello pitched a winning game for Ursuline when they won the baseball championship.
Absolutely.
Agona was on that team. There's another local kid that's, he was coaching, but Tri-C's, they knocked them down. They're not there's no Tri-C anymore. But you could be right, Don. I mean, Ron, I don't know that I could even argue with you about that with the football, baseball. Because if you look at state championships, how many have there really been? You go back to Harding, you go to Mooney, who has 7, I think.
Yeah.
Ursuline has 4 or 5.
Ursuline has 4 or 5. You are correct. Yeah.
Right, and then Coach came back, so who knows what Ursuline's going to do now? And I don't know. I mean, I know Fitch has never won one. South has never won one. I don't know. There's a bunch of them that haven't won them. More in baseball. More in baseball to even get there.
Agreed. Mike Cifaldi, our guest on the YSN hotline. I know for you the last 50 years have come and gone so quickly, but if you were to put together a list of things that were your favorite to do, and I'm putting you on the spot, but what are some of the favorite things that you have done over the last 50 years?
Oh, you mean as far as sports goes?
Yeah, as far as sports goes, because I know you've been in the corner for Ray Mancini. You've been in the corner for Kelly Pavlik.
Well, I was part of the team. They thought I was in the corner. I wasn't in the corner, and I called Ray and Kelly, and Ray said to me, he said, "You're always in my corner." So, but being part of a team is still, watching both of them win world championships was wow. I mean, wow. And then you go back to just a simple thing when first year at Canfield with Robbie Donahue and Jordan and Klusnick, and we went undefeated and unscored upon until the last game. We gave up 6 points, and we didn't even try to do it, you know. And then the Austintown Colts, you know, winning 4 or 5 championships with a lot of kids, the Englishes, and just so many kids that went on to play college football and high school football, and then, you know, being part of the World Series team in Louisville, Kentucky. Now we do our lights out management. You know, a lot of people don't know this. This is part of sports, but we do these promotions, myself, my son Michael, Tommy Cordell, and Bobby Clemens. We've given away about $85,000 to different charities, and that makes you feel good. And then, I mean, there's a lot of even in losing sometimes it's, you know, the effort that these kids, the effort that they give you is phenomenal. We went down as a 14-year-old group and played in Beaver Valley. We played Beaver Valley Red, who was one of the premier teams in that age group, and they beat us like 20-0. I mean, my neck was getting sore watching the ball go over the fence. By the end of the year, we went to another tournament down there and had our third baseman not slip, and it was kind of wet, and the kid that ran it, his son ended up playing for us, and then went to Ohio State. If our third baseman doesn't slip, we win the game. So we went from getting beat 20-0 to coming back and actually should have won the game. And even though we lost that game, it was a highlight. It was something that you'll never forget. So, you know, there's things in wins and losses. You get pleasure out of wins. You're not going to get pleasure out of losses, but there's things that you're going to take away from those losses that hopefully are going to make your team better, or make another team better by something that you could have done different as a coach.
Hey, Mike, always a pleasure, and congratulations again for the 50 years of service to the youth of the Mahoning Valley, and knowing you're probably going to be doing another 50 years.
Well, I'm going to finish this one and try not to get suspended for the year. But I appreciate it. Anytime, Ron, let me know.
And just make sure that I don't umpire any of your games, and you're in pretty good shape, okay?
Oh, I won't. I would never even say anything. But if you guys if there's a big show coming up with Top Rank, and I can get Lee Samuels on. He's their PR guy, and I think you'd love to talk to him. So if you ever want to talk to somebody from Top Rank, let me know.
Hey, you know, if we're going to go boxing, you know you always have a seat here in YSN, and I'd love to bend the ear of some folks at Top Rank.
Well, you could bend it. Let me know.
All right, brother.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you, guys.
All righty.
Bye.
Mike Cifaldi on the YSN hotline, talking all kinds of different sports. And again, a few weeks ago, Mike was honored 50 years of various coaching positions, in various sports. And as Mike said, I think Arnold Palmer just gave me the hiccups. My God.
And you said Arnold Palmer never steered you wrong.
Well, I mean,
he just did.
I got hiccups now.
I think Arnold Palmer's spirit just said, how dare you
Yeah.
try to make something that's not official Arnold Palmer.
Well, it tasted good. I mean, I just kept adding lemonade in my green tea with ginseng. Ginseng just comes off the palate so well. Ginseng. Yeah, ginseng.
I think it's like an energy.
I think so. I'm feeling energetic. Maybe we can do the 40 again, and well, never mind. I'm not feeling that energetic.
Just stop.
Yeah, we're gonna stop right there. Mike is he's very much into boxing, and again, he was part of Ray Mancini's team when Ray won the lightweight championship in the late 70s, early 80s, and then he was part of Kelly Pavlik's team when Kelly knocked off Jermaine Taylor to win the middleweight championship. And man, I remember watching that on HBO. Jim Lampley, who does a fantastic job, or did a fantastic job, he's now retired. Lampley was broadcasting it, and early on, Kelly got knocked down by Jermaine Taylor, and I was like, uh-oh. Now, this may not have a good ending, but Kelly got back up and then proceeded to beat the living hell out of Jermaine Taylor and wound up taking the belt with a knockout or a TKO. And yeah, there was an awful lot of fun. That fight and the Kelly's fight against Edison Miranda might have been the absolute best of Kelly Pavlik.
Yeah, absolutely, and Kelly Pavlik's one of those people that brought notoriety to our area.
No doubt.
So I mean, you like you said, that first fight, he didn't start off on the right foot at all.
No.
But man, Kelly got up and like you said, beat the snot out of him, and then that's why there are some people in the Power Hour that think they can take a punch from Kelly Pavlik.
No.
Now the other options were Conor McGregor or Mike Tyson. I don't know which one you would pick.
I'd take Conor McGregor long before I took Mike Tyson.
All right.
And Tyson's not the hardest hitting heavyweight.
That's true.
No, he listen, this area had the hardest hitting heavyweight to ever lace up boxing gloves, Ernie Shavers. Muhammad Ali, before the Parkinson's ravaged his body, someone asked Ali, the toughest opponent or the guy that hit the hardest in the ring, and Ali didn't even hesitate to say Ernie Shavers. And if you see the fight between Shavers and Ali from, I think it was Yankee Stadium, Shavers should have knocked Ali out in the second round. He clobbered him with a right hand, and Ali had an unbelievable jaw to begin with. And he really hurt the champ. But Shavers couldn't get that haymaker that he normally throws to knock people out. But he hurt Ali a number of times during that fight. Now, Ali was 34, 35 when he fought Ernie Shavers, or somewhere in that vicinity. But still, I mean, it was Ernie Shavers gave him a run.
Perfect example of when you get a shot at the king, you better not miss. And unfortunately, he took a shot, but it wasn't the knockout blow, and you missed. So.
Yeah, and later on, when Larry Holmes cleaned up the heavyweight division, Shavers fought Larry Holmes and hit him with an overhand right that put him on the ground. And I was thinking to myself, he's just won the heavyweight championship of the world. And to his credit, Larry Holmes got up at 7 or 8. He was out on his feet, but they let the fight continue, and Shavers was swinging wild, trying to knock him out, and he just couldn't get it done. And then once Larry Holmes got back into the corner, cobwebs are out of his system, and then he proceeds to do what Larry Holmes did, which won most of the time. So, Ernie Shavers was a hell of a puncher. Oh my gosh! But long story short. Look, if I had my choice who I want to get hit by, which is kind of a really stupid thing to want.
It's like the kids of the old days trying to pick their own switch out in the yard.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing's gonna feel good.
No, nothing's gonna feel good.
You pick that one, they're gonna send you back out here.
Yeah.
That one's gonna break my spine. I guess I'll go with the one in the middle.
Yeah. If I had my choice, if someone was going to punch me between Conor McGregor, Kelly Pavlik, and Mike Tyson, I'm gonna let Conor McGregor take his shot.
All right.
Because I don't want to get hit by Kelly Pavlik, and I damn sure don't want to get hit by Mike Tyson. No. Hell no. No, thank you. That guy could hit as well. Yeah, he was a badass back in the day. Before Customato died, my Lord, could that guy just go at people?
Mm.
He was a beast, absolute beast. All right, 330-886-0813. We'll take a timeout. On the other side, a little sad day in history pertaining to wrestling. Very sad day. It happened 13 years ago today. We'll talk about perhaps one of wrestling's darkest moments. We'll talk about that, and we'll also continue to talk about the potential benefits of Major League Baseball. And there better be some, because I'm on the fence whether I want to do anything with Major League Baseball this year. I got to be honest. I'm on the fence right now. I don't know if I want to do anything, because I'm still very angry with management. I'm very angry with the players union, and I'm sure there's a lot of baseball fans. Okay, yeah, that's back, and everyone can celebrate in late July, but I'm not feeling it right now. I mean, yes, training camp starts July the 1st, and
I think you'll feel it real quick, Ron.
I think that as we get closer to the 24th, I will probably drop the anger.
The baseball blood and you and me are both going to be like, once they get started, oh, okay, I can root for something now.
Yeah,
like I said,
I probably will, but right now I'm too angry to do anything with them, frankly. But we'll see what happens. We'll take a timeout. We're back with more. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
They say American craftsmanship is making a comeback. Of course, at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, it never went away.
People are floored by Baird Brothers' authentic hardwood floors. They stare at our stairs and adore our doors. Baird Brothers reflects 3 generations of family craftsmanship. Visit our huge in-stock selection in person or at BairdBrothers.com.
Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
It's a Wednesday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. We mentioned today is a very somber anniversary. I don't even like saying it's an anniversary because of the just horrible incident that occurred, which was one of wrestling's darkest days. 13 years ago today, Chris Benoit, who was a really, really good wrestler back in the day, Chris Benoit killed his family and committed suicide 13 years ago today. And that was by far and away one of the darkest days in professional wrestling, as Chris Benoit was, well, I mean, we'll call it as we see it. He was on steroids, and he was in a roid rage.
Well, obviously, you got some mental problems. I mean,
and he had some mental problems.
When you have mental problems, and then you mix it with the adverse effects of steroids, not a good mixture right there.
Yeah. So on this date, 13 years ago, Chris Benoit killed his family and then ultimately committed suicide in arguably wrestling's darkest day. And there's been a few really dark days. Go back to the pay-per-view in which Owen Hart was coming down from the ceiling in a wire. Kind of a thing where he was hanging on to something, and the wire broke, and he went about 40 feet down and ultimately died in the ring. And That was a very dark time. Wrestling has a great activity and a great something that I've watched for a number of decades. But they've had their share of some really, really tragic events. And certainly the one 13 years ago today was at the top of the list. Horrible, horrible day in professional wrestling.
Unfortunately, the sports world, the history is trickled with incidents like that, especially if you go into the recent history. I mean, the Chiefs had an incident where I think his name was Belcher, shot his girlfriend and then he killed himself in the Chiefs parking lot. So
yeah,
it's just it's becoming more and more prevalent in the sports world as we kind of understand more the mental strain that contact sports can bring on someone. So it's a sad situation there.
No doubt. On a happy note, we continue on this Wednesday edition of Running Point. We're talking about baseball. That, knock on wood, we finally have a season, albeit a 60-game season, and it's not a marathon now. It's a sprint, which is completely opposite of what Major League Baseball is. But in this 2020 season, you will have 40 games in your own division. You're going to play your division 10 times each, and then you're going to play your opposite division in the other league, where you will play all 5 teams in your opposite division in the other league 4 times each. So 20 games from the opposite league, 40 games from your division, equaling out to 60 games, 30 home, 30 away, obviously. Should be an entertaining 60 games. I don't know what to expect, and I don't even know if everyone is going to be on board with this because, COVID-19 unfortunately is seeing a resurgence, I should say, in Texas, Florida, Arizona, California. States that are very warm right now.
We've talked about it before, though. I mean, there's a rise in positive tests, but there is a dramatic downturn in mortality rate and hospitalization rate, which was a really goal. Like, 1, get these people out of the hospital so we're not overloading hospitals, and 2, lower down the mortality rate. So yes, there are definitely going to be more positive tests, partly because there's going to be more testing being done. But at the same time, what the good news and the positive news is our mortality rates are way down and the hospitalization rates are way down too.
Absolutely. Now, the bugaboo with all of this is if someone does get COVID during the season, he'll be quarantined for 2 weeks. So basically you're on the 10-day disabled list, add a few games. And, well, let's be honest, 60 games in 66 days, you're going to be missing more than a handful of games if you're quarantined for 2 weeks.
It's going to make it chaotic. It's going to make it chaos. It's going to make who can scramble and handle situations like that better than other teams. And I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to be fun baseball because there's so much uncertainty. You can't just come out and say, well, the Dodgers are the best team in baseball, so they're going to win the World Series, because you just don't know what will happen to the Dodgers. I mean, Clayton Kershaw gets COVID late in the season, and then someone else in the West makes a run and wins that division. I mean, who knows?
And this is where, unfortunately, you're probably not going to get the best team to win the World Series this year.
Like we said, you're going to get the team that handles the situation the best.
Absolutely. And you're going to have luck along the way. Yeah. And the luck is making sure that everyone is testing negative for COVID. Because once a player tests positive, not only are you going to have to worry about that player, you're also going to have to test the rest of your team and hope and pray to God that you don't have rampant COVID-19. Otherwise, you're pretty much SOL, not only playing baseball, you're probably not going to be one of the 5 teams going into the postseason. And again, the expanded playoffs will not be happening because the players did not sign their name on the dotted line when it was given to them. And Commissioner Manfred, when he made up his mind said, look, you're just going to get 100% of your salary for 60 games. You're not going to get anything else. You might get a universal DH, and as it turns out, they are going to get a universal DH, which I think, under the circumstances, is probably the best decision for this year. I don't want to see it in 2021, but as Chris Peeble so eloquently said, toothpaste is already out of the
I love
tube.
that. You can't put your toothpaste back in the tube.
Exactly. Although I still believe...
And he made a good point. Once the teams kind of get a grasp of this designated hitter thing, good luck telling them they have to go back to the old way.
Yeah, I still think that if you want to have a happy medium, you can do this in a great way where you allow the starting pitcher to hit for himself until the starting pitcher is out of the game, and then the designated hitter takes his spot in the batting order. Now, call me crazy, but in the latter stages of the game, when you're assembling a batting order, you obviously want your best hitter to hit third. You obviously want guys that get on base to be your leadoff and two hitters, your run producers.
You made the point earlier, late in the game, that kind of stuff doesn't matter.
Exactly. So, and this makes my idea even better. If the starting pitcher is out of the game and you have a bopper in the bottom part of the lineup, theoretically, offense out the wazoo every part of this. So I think it would be a really great idea in that the National League can have their pitchers hitting until the starting pitcher is taken out of the game. And I say this because relief pitchers don't bat for themselves. They get lifted for a pinch hitter, and they're irrelevant in this. The starting pitcher is the one that normally gets the at-bats. So I would sit back and say, if I were Commissioner Manfred, and Lord knows I'd love to be, but, whatever. If I were Commissioner Manfred and someone said, how do you want to change the DH, I would simply say, as long as the starting pitcher is in the ball game, you're playing National League rules. Once the starting pitcher is out, now you're playing American League rules. You don't have to deplete your bench with pinch hitters out the wazoo. You can just have your DH pinch hit for the pitcher, or if the pitcher is taken out of the ball game, the DH automatically jumps into wherever the pitcher was hitting in the lineup. I think it's perfect scenario. By the way, now how many managers would sit back and go, I'm going to have my pitcher hit fifth or sixth in my lineup, knowing that, well, he's not going to be used for more than, 5 innings, so I can get my DH 2 at-bats, maybe more? I wonder how many managers would think that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting strategy. It's also an interesting strategy to kind of flip who you put as a DH, because if you're going to put him at the bottom of the lineup, you might want a not traditional DH be your DH. That way, all of a sudden, pitcher goes out, and now you have a really good average guy batting ninth to kind of set the table for the top of your lineup.
And more importantly, if that guy that gets on base is a jackrabbit, now you got speed at the bottom of the lineup. And you normally have speed at the top of the lineup, even though the stolen base is something that is no longer. But you normally have speed at the top of your lineup. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to manipulate the lineup. But again, if I were the benevolent dictator of baseball, i.e. Rob Manfred, I would change the designated hitter to have the ultimate situation that will appease both the American League and the National League crowd. You get National League baseball as long as the starting pitcher is in the game, and then once the starting pitcher is out of the game, you get American League baseball. The other reason why I want the pitchers to hit for themselves is whenever there is a how do you do with the pitchers hitting people. The thing that bothers me about the American League and the DH, the starting pitcher is not going to the plate to face the music. You can hide from your transgressions if you're in the American League. You can drill someone knowing full well you're not going to be in the batter's box with that pitcher looking for retribution.
But you and your teammate also know by hitting this guy, I'm not putting myself at risk. I'm putting my teammates at risk because I can't go get hit. And then I also think in the American leagues, because of that, batters are probably more prone to charge the pitcher because they know that their team doesn't get a chance to go out and hit them themselves.
Yeah.
So I'd like to look at the statistics. I bet there are more batters that go after pitchers in the American League than the National League in the last, 20 years?
See, I think that there's a lot more brawls in the American League than there is in the National League because the National League pitcher has to face the music. The American League pitcher does not have to face the music, and I think you get a lot more tension that way. A little quick, interesting story. When we were the Cubs affiliate in Jackson, and that was ranging from 2003 through 2006 when I was there, I think Jackson was the Cubs affiliate from the start of their tenure in 1999 all the way through 2006. Anyway, 2006 was the last year of our affiliation with the Cubs, and Pat Listash was the manager of the team. Pat Listash, former American League Rookie of the Year, beat out Kenny Lofton, which I reminded him it was BS when he'd won it, and he reminds me that he deserved the award. Neither here nor there. We're playing the Chattanooga Lookouts, which at that point was a Cincinnati Reds affiliate. And Homer Bailey, who has bounced around a number of teams in Major League Baseball and has basically been more injury prone than anything else, Homer Bailey was pitching for Chattanooga. Now, at the time, Homer was one of the Reds' top prospects, and he was having a pretty good year in AA. And we were playing him, and he was pitching, and one of our kids, who hit leadoff, but he was batting, I think, in the third or fourth inning, and he had called time, and the umpire granted the timeout as Homer was in his windup, ready to throw the ball. It was a late time, granted by the home plate umpire. Should not have been granted. I thought it was a bad call. But our hitter gets the timeout. And Homer Bailey was pissed. I mean, he stopped his, he tried to stop his motion. And that's the worst thing you can do as a pitcher is to try to stop your motion because you can get hurt that way. Well, the very next pitch from Homer Bailey hit our guy in the head. So we knew Homer Bailey was coming up that next inning. And it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure this one out. Homer Bailey was going to get drilled with the very first pitch if the pitcher was target practicing well. So Homer drills our guy. Our guy has a concussion. He's out for the rest of the game. So our manager's already mad. So Homer Bailey, sure enough, second or third up in the inning, and there's nobody on. And I think there were 2 outs and nobody on. So perfect time to just absolutely rip him and just go from there. First pitch goes behind him. And the umpire...
Warnings.
Exactly. The umpire throws the warning at everyone. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is going to go 2 different ways. Either he is going to drill him and all hell's going to break loose.
Because he's going to get tossed.
Or he's going to say, okay, I took my shot at the king and I missed him, and now we're going to have to play nice. He chose the former and absolutely smoked him. I mean, he just smoked him in the lower back, and that set him off again. And automatically, our pitcher and Pat Listash are thrown out of the game. And Listash got his money's worth because he just went nose to nose with the umpire and said, "Hey, this is unfair. This clown drilled our guy, and it was a madhouse." But it's a perfect example of, if you're going to throw and hit one of our guys and you're in the National League, you have to be prepared to face the music. That's what I've loved about National League and pitchers hitting. Okay, do they suck at the plate? Oh my God, absolutely they do.
Most of them, but some
Most
of them
do.
Bumgarner's a good hitter.
Yes, he is.
Like, my word.
Yes, he is. But most of them are not very good.
Most of them aren't very good.
But I like the idea of a pitcher hitting for himself, because if you're trying to stir the Kool-Aid, then you have to take your licks at home plate and see what happens.
And let me just say, Bartolo Colon hitting a home run was one of the best parts of that whole season.
Oh, my God, absolutely.
And that doesn't happen if pitchers aren't hitting.
Exactly. If a pitcher goes yard, and someone that you don't expect to go yard, I mean, that's part of the beauty of pitchers hitting.
Big sexy man.
Oh,
getting it.
Yeah. There's talk that he wants to try to
one more. Let's
do one more year.
Let's do it. I remember his behind the back flip.
Oh yeah,
it was like perfect, right to the first baseman. He just laughed it off like dude.
I mean, he's 46 and he's a Dominican, so he's probably 49. Yeah. Let's see what he got. I mean, his fastball is high 80s now, maybe mid 80s.
But he locates it so well. So
Absolutely.
I don't care how fast it is. If you locate it right, you can get away with that. I remember Royals had a guy named Bruce Chen back a couple of years ago. Not an electric fastball, but he located it perfectly, and that frustrated the heck out of guys because they knew this fastball is only coming in at 88 miles an hour, but I can't touch it because it's moving.
Well, it's moving and it's located perfectly.
Right? And it's just like, dang. And that'll frustrate a hitter more than not being able to catch up to 98, 99. When you know a fastball is hittable speed and you still can't get it, that's frustrating.
Oh, no question. And I've told people on a number of occasions, the easiest pitch to hit is a straight fastball. Because all you need to do is time it up.
Mm-hmm.
You time it up, you know which zone it's in, and you time it up and you hit the ball. I mean, I was going into the batter's box when they had, and this was in Jackson, they had the pitching machine, and the hitting coach would grab a baseball, put it into the little slot, ball would come out. They had this pitching machine at 50 feet going 90 miles an hour. So essentially the pitch was coming in at about 105, 103, 104, something like that. 100 plus. So the hitting coach is a former big leaguer, Von Joshua. He looks at me and he says, "You want to try this?" I said, "Hell yeah, I do. Let me get a helmet." He says, "You're not going to need one." He says, "This is perfectly set up. You're not going to get hit." I said, "Okay, no problem." So I go in there, and I'm waiting for the pitch, and he starts laughing, and I'm like, "What are you laughing at?" He goes, "I already threw you one pitch. You didn't see it?" I said, "No, I didn't see it."
No way.
And I was just like, "Oh my God, this is ridiculous."
Yeah.
But I want to say 10 times that you saw this. I'm late, obviously. The next 8 times I'm late. And, and they were like, "All right, you get one more chance at this." And the pitch is coming in straight. It's straight as an arrow. You just have to time it up. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to go as fast as I humanly can to put my bat through the zone. Pitch comes in, went as fast as I could, ripped one down the right field line and missed extra bases by about this much. And I threw the bat in the air and I said, "Game over, I win." I said, "I don't care if the ball was foul. I ripped one down the right field line. Yes, it's foul by about 3 feet. I don't care. I made contact on a 100-plus mile an hour fastball." I was like, "I don't care if it's fair or not.
Right.
Who gives a crap?"
And they do that because if you can catch up to that, you're going to be able to catch up to 95, 96 really easily.
Absolutely. And they were teaching guys to go the opposite way. So right-handed hitters, you're going to hit the ball with authority into right center
and it's such
or right
lost,
field.
It's such a lost art.
Oh,
I
God, yes.
wish people would realize, okay, they're going to shift me. Man, that left field is so wide open. If I just poke a ball down the third base line, I got a base hit every time. That's all I have to do. And they get pull happy.
It drives me nuts when I see the shift. And if a right-handed batter is up and they're way the hell over in right center, in right center field, the right fielder's in right center, the center fielder's way over in left center, the left fielder's guarding the line.
And the third baseman's where shortstop would normally play.
Yeah.
So that third base, there's a huge hole right at third base.
Yeah.
You hit it anywhere over there, you have an easy single.
Exactly.
You can bunt it and you have an easy single.
The left-handed batter with a third baseman way the hell off the line. I'm like, dude, all you got to do is lay down the bunt and there you go. Walk to first base. And you can do that. And it drives me nuts when I see guys that are pull happy and that have not worked on hitting the ball the opposite way. I mean, that separates an average hitter to someone like a Tony Gwynn, who made a career out of hitting a line drive right between the third baseman and the shortstop, the 6 hole or the 5.5 hole that Tony Gwynn made famous, where he would rip a ball between the third baseman and the shortstop and just slam it into left field using the 5.5 hole. It just, if you can hit the ball the opposite way, you can do all kinds of damage in baseball.
One of the reasons that the Royals won the World Series in 2015 is because Mike Moustakas finally figured that out.
Yeah.
Because people were shifting him like crazy. Because he had the year before he had maybe 5 hits to left field total. And he finally figured it out. And in that 2015, he had more like 45, 50 hits to left field because he wasn't pull happy anymore. He made the adjustment. And that drives me crazy when someone's so pull happy that the pitcher can pitch outside and it doesn't matter. They're still going to try to pull it.
Yeah.
And then they'll hit it right to the shift.
That's where I just draw the line where I just want to openly question the man's baseball IQ.
Like if the pitcher's jamming you inside, okay.
There's nothing you can do about that.
But if he's throwing outside corner,
why are you pulling that? If you're pulling a pitch on the outside corner and you're right-handed, congratulations. You're either going to hit the ball to the pitcher, the shortstop, or the third baseman. And there's nothing else in between. You're not going to do much of anything if you're trying to pull a pitch on the outside corner. Instead, go with the pitch. Slap it into right center field. Slap it into right field. It drives me nuts. And the other thing that a pet peeve, if there's a runner at second base and less than 2 outs, situational hitting is something that I absolutely love to see. If a right-handed batter is up, runner at second base, less than 2 outs. If you're going to make an out, please hit the ball to the right side of the infield so the runner can go to third base and can score if there's 1 out on a sac fly or if there's 2 out on a base hit, wild pitch, pass ball, whatever. It drives me nuts when I see a runner at second and the hitter is pull happy or convinced that he can drive in the run without doing what you should be doing on a baseball field.
I wish more left-handed hitters would embrace the Japanese style of hitting, especially with 2 strikes, just slapping it to left field. I mean, they're almost running to first before they make contact with the ball. And you see it all the time in softball, but it's only the Japanese hitters that really do it in baseball. Ichiro did it perfectly. He made a living off of just kind of throwing the bat out there and just slapping the ball right to left field. I wish, because people make fun of it because it looks silly and it's not a baseball swing or whatever, but man, it works. I wish people would embrace it a little bit more.
Yeah, it's just this is part of the baseball IQ that in today's, I am either going to be feast or famine, I have to homer, or I'm going to strike out. And strikeouts are acceptable, which to me is the greatest form of ignorance that anyone can give me.
There are times when it's better because like me and DJ were telling you before, like bases loaded, nobody out. I would rather you strike out than ground into a double play and score a run because
it depends on the situation.
If you strike out, we still have bases loaded, one out, and the next guy can come up and get a big base hit.
That's true.
If you ground out into a double play, we have a runner on third?
You have a runner at third,
with
one run in.
With 2 outs and 1 run in.
If it's a tie ball game, I got no problems with it. If it's late in the game, tie ball game, I have no problems if he grounds into a double play. Assuming that you're not going home.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I mean, if you're going home and doing a double play, okay, then obviously
most teams are going to try to go home in that situation.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, I'm not a fan of striking out. That's just very low on the total.
Especially, I hate strikeouts with runners in scoring position, and I hate strikeouts when you're ahead in the count. Like if you're up 3-1 and you end up striking out.
Yeah.
Especially if you swing a ball 4.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Not a happy camper with that.
That's why they to bring up the Royals 2015. They didn't walk a lot, but they also didn't strike out a lot.
No, they put the ball in play.
Put pressure on the defense.
Exactly. That's the big reason why.
That's how small market teams win.
Yeah, and that's the big reason why I'm just anti-strikeout. Put the ball in play, test the defense, and if you put the ball in play the right way, good things are going to happen anyway. So. But if you don't put the ball in play, then nothing good's going to come of it. It isn't. You have to put the ball in play. Get the wood on the ball. Otherwise, you've done nothing at this point. So hit the ball behind the runner and move him to third base. I'd rather see that than a strikeout. Horrible. All right, that's going to do it for a Wednesday edition of Running Point. Man, time flies by. Many, many thanks to Chris Biebel, our 1 o'clock guest who you hear every Wednesday, Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek. Also, Mike Cifaldi checking in. And again, congratulations to Coach Cifaldi. 50 years of service to the kids in the Mahoning Valley in various sports. And we certainly hope that Mike will continue to be there another 15, 20 years. That'll do it for Wednesday's show. We'll talk on Friday. It'll be an open line Friday. You've been listening to Running Point on YSNLive.com. Make it a great